Hello and welcome to another great day's cyclo-cross action here on GCN Racing. We are back on the Superprestige Series round 3 today. Magnus Backstead is with me. We are in Gavere. Before we get to today's action, let's just remind ourselves of the Superprestige Series so far. What a series so far. Celine Del Carmen and Alice Maria Arzufi. I'm anglifying it again, sorry. Alice Maria Arzufi from 777. Your two winners so far. Maggie, Bohm last week. We saw that drop there. Yara Castelline coming off there. Tone Arts did the same. Double knee slide down that drop. But for Arzufi, who was the winner here last year, absolutely phenomenal performance.
Yeah, it definitely was, and also in really, really difficult conditions. So I think it bodes well because Gavere is normally quite a muddy race, even when the conditions have been reasonably good, like we saw yesterday in Bering, in that it was actually quite dry. But Gavere, for some reason, it's always muddy, and I think it bodes well for Arzufi for today.
Defending that title, and again, it was the Italians last week, wasn't it? I think for me last week, one of the rides of the day was Eva Lechner. Took a tumble early on, and just the way she just powered through the race, just all the way, sprinting out Sanakant for second place.
Well, when the conditions are the way they were last time around, it's just about staying clean, really, and hitting the lines and making sure that you just being eliminating any mistakes or making as few mistakes as possible, and I think that's what she did in the end, and managed to get back right up there in the mix.
Right, let's have a look at the standings so far in the series. So going into that one, so today, Maggie, Sanakant sitting there at the top with 27 points. Eva Lechner sitting in second. Arzufi sitting there in fifth with 20.
Yeah, it's Sanakant has been consistent so far this season. Hasn't really, again, been winning as much as what we're probably expecting. But the women's field is so competitive right now. We're seeing different riders winning on different weekends, and I think that's really, really good for the sport. But it's been definitely an interesting start to the year, and I think Sanakant is coming here to try and defend that lead. It's a slender lead, but again, she will want to put Gavere on her palmares again after having winning quite a few times in the past.
Yeah, we're getting into this point of the season now, and we can kind of look away. When we started Superprestige and the Etihad series, those riders that were coming into their cross season. Now we're a kind of month into the European season now. Those riders that were looking a little bit rusty, and when they came in, they've kind of knocked all those sharp edges off now, and this is where they need to start getting into sort of building into their season.
Yeah, it definitely is, and also Gavere is one of the big crosses on the calendar. We got Koppenberg coming up next Friday, Rudevode again, a really prestigious race as well to win, and so I think that most of the riders will be looking at hitting sort of peak condition round about now, really, and taking it forward for another month or so. And maybe usually in November, a couple of the riders tend to go away and sort of find a small training camp, a block of training somewhere, and then come back in and hit December and certainly Christmas period or hit the ground running.
Yeah, so let's have a little look at the start list, who we're going to see in action today. We've picked some riders out. So they're here. Sanne Cant, Annemarie Wurst, Ellen van Looy, Alice Maria Azufi, Mount Captains, Eva Lechner, watch out for her. Laura Vidonschot, the Power Sales and Bingo riders. Castelline, that bad luck last week for 777. Borovica as well, the Polish national champion. Caitlin Keogh, we're watching out for Caitlin Keogh to, she's looking consistent. She just looks like she's looking for that few extra percent.
Yeah, definitely she is. But like we said, it's such a tight race all the time. Every single cyclocross that we've been to so far this year has been really a tough competition, and I think there's quite a few of these riders that we got on the start list here that are definitely capable of winning, and I'm looking at Anna Kay as one of the riders who I think will definitely be right up there in the mix again. We saw it at the World Cup in Bern how she got herself onto the podium. Also worth noting is Van Anrooy, the young rider who's still a junior, and but she's been really leaving a mark on a lot of races so far this season, and I think she's going to get better and better. Yeah,
those 17-year-old riders. We had Puck Petersen yesterday, didn't we? Who was up there as well. I mean, as a 17-year-old, when you come in, your daughter Zoe's not far off stepping into the next couple of years coming into that. But as a 17-year-old, I mean, it must just be like, whoa, sometimes you come in and you see the best in the world. Yeah. Or when you're out there and you're with them, is it very much kind of probably like you when you were younger, when you went up against the big guns that you just wanted to really show them?
Yeah, it's always something different, special when you line up against your sort of heroes almost, and the big riders that are currently in the sport. But I think Van Anrooy this year she's looked like she doesn't really mind who's on the start line. She's there to race a bike race and do her race, and I think that's absolutely key to her development as well. So for any of these young riders as well, they're getting less and less worried about who's on the line and more about them performing to their maximum, and I think it's something the sport is evolving. They're on the start line, they're doing the same courses. I know we're going across to Koppenberg with Zoe next weekend, and Andrew de Voorde. They're already used to these cyclocross courses. They've done them for years and years, so it's not like they're worried about the course itself, but it's more about just them delivering, and they're getting so strong, so fast, technically really skilled as well at a young age.
Yeah, and they're really pushing it as well, bunny hopping those barriers. Now, one team we want to talk about a little bit are the 777 team, and we saw it yesterday as well with Telenet Baloise Lions, in the fact that they're starting to ride as a team, which is kind of something that you didn't see a lot of the time coming into it. And we're kind of, as the sport's evolving, lots of riders were privateers, weren't they? They were on their own, they had their own sponsors. Now they're into teams. But now, do you say the stakes are getting so high that you've got to work as a team to deliver that success?
Yeah, I think as well, let me put it in this way, that you're not exactly racing for each other, but you're not racing against each other, and I think that's the key when you got some of the bigger teams here, like 777, like Expers or Logics. Those guys are there to look out for each other, not necessarily race for each other, but not racing against each other, and that makes a big difference when you, especially like we saw yesterday with Telenet Baloise Lions, that Tournats didn't go on the attack until Quinten Hermans had a big enough gap so that he could go for that move. If he was to pull Pidcock with him, it wasn't going to be a big disaster, and all of a sudden they dragged Pidcock back into a sprint for the line, at which point that would have been a completely different, almost borderline disaster for them as a team. So they're certainly thinking more and more as in terms of, like we see on the road, the team tactics.
We're saying Alice Maria Azufi. I was watching back last year race yesterday, and we had Annemarie Wurst there. Again, she's sort of taken a big jump this year, and she was out in the lead last year. She took a tumble going into the pits because to hit a bit of a rut. Here's Inga van der Heijden here. Azufi just kind of again ran her way through the field.
Yeah, she did. These courses and the conditions that we have, it's so easy to take a little bit of a tumble, and like I said before, it's really important that you're hitting your lines all the time, lap after lap, making the minimal amount of mistakes possible. And the muddier it gets, the more likely you are to make these mistakes, as we're now right about to hit the start.
So we're not almost ready for the start. Sanne Cant there, just both crouched and ready for the off. And we are green and go here in Gavere for the next round of the Superprestige series. You see Abby May Parkinson there, just for Trinity Racing. In the back, just trying to find her way up. Barbara Borowiecka that you can see there, number 12, Polish national champion. Beautiful shot here, this cable cam that we have. Beth Crumpton in the yellow, just moving up. Had a great race yesterday.
Wow,
Crumpton
great start.
Powers her way through to the front.
Yeah, really great start from Crumpton, and it's so important in Gavere as well to make this this good start, because got a couple of sweeping corners and straight onto the mud, and it's a really fast start as well. So if you can get out there, you're then able to choose your lines and just try and, like I said, avoid making any mistakes.
Beth Crumpton on the front for British fans, and I was messaging Beth last night, gave her a little, said well done for yesterday. She's super happy with that. Has a little slip there, but she's on the front. She can recover from that. When you're on the front, you're dictating to everybody else behind. You can see the riders all coming to a halt there, but Beth, huge confidence boost that she got yesterday. She's the British Series winner, and I think for the Tartaletto Isarex rider, again, she would have seen Thomas Main up there yesterday, and again, it's just these points, little steps that you start to get that confidence. You're leading out, you get to the front, all of a sudden you look round. Anna-Marie Verst is there, Celine Del Carmen Alvarado, Sana Kant. Even if you lead, you're leading for as long as you can here.
And this is Beth. She's done just stalled there, but I said she's done a great ride there, getting the longer line around it. I'm almost being able to ride that, and even though she stalled a bit, she's still got been able to ride her bike a little bit longer, and that's absolutely vital.
Look at the speed of Celine Del Carmen Alvarado sprinting up the outside, the Corendon Circus rider. So it's Anna-Marie Verst there that's leading. Laura Verdonschott is the rider that's in second for Paushausen Bingo. Crumpton up there as well. Van Looy is there. Van der Heijden. Lechner is there. Hirte Hooker well to the front of this one.
Anna Kay has moved up as a long way as well. She's not been gridded the best, obviously not having done any of the Super Prestige rounds so far, and not scored any points, so she had to start a little bit further back, but is now right up there in the mix on the wheel of Ellen van Looy.
So leading out here, so they're giving you a good view of this one. The riders battling for positions at the front. So now we get into this technical descent that you have here. As Anna Kay just moves up on the outside. Anna-Marie Verst, what a race that she put in yesterday. Sana Kant goes wide there. Alvarado just cuts in on the inside there. Van der Heijden in the orange. So good lead out here on the opening lap. Don't forget, get involved over on the social media as well, on our chat forums. This climb as well, they're really nailing this climb today.
Yeah, it's not quite as muddy as it was last year. Last year they really couldn't, none of the women were able to ride that little ramp up there, and it looks like there's a bit more grip. There's some mud around in patches, but it's actually quite a soft ground, which means that you're actually getting quite a lot of grip with the tyres. So we saw some different tyre tread choices having been made. Sana Kant looked like she was on a mud tyre, whereas some of the other riders were on more of an intermediate tyre.
So first, just leading out here into the little ditch. Rhythm rocking and rolling through there. Kate, Crumpton just trying to hold a position here. Some fast sections on this course again as well, through the woods.
Super quick start.
And again, Anna-Marie Verst, I mean, her descending skills yesterday were phenomenal.
Yeah, definitely. She really seemed like she had the guts to let go of the brakes on those technical descents that we had yesterday in Beringen, and very similar today. That descent is known to be quite a difficult one, and she's been able to pull a little bit of a gap there.
Eva Lechner, a little bit of a gap back to Eva Lechner. There's Alicia Maria Arzufi in the red there, just going through it. Yara Castelline that's on the front. Arzufi again, again in the past we see her. Doesn't get a great start sometimes, but can just find her way through.
Yeah, that's really quite a bad start for her, and Yeah, has got quite a bit of work to do because the pace is on really quite high at the front here now. These sort of false flat sections up here, although they should be very good for Sophie. It just means that as the gaps are starting to open up here, and you see even Sanne Kant is struggling there. Celine coming up Arado here as well. Just a few meters been let go of the front runners, and for someone, if you get a bad start, you've got such a lot of hard work to get yourself back into the bike race before you can even start thinking about actually racing.
We have, and just to update you as well, unfortunately Katie Compton was down on the start list, but her contract was not secured with the organisers, so they were tweeting earlier, which is a shame.
Yeah.
We would miss Katie Compton in this one. She's won this race on multiple occasions, so yeah, it's a shame.
Yeah, very much a shame. But that's how cyclocross is. So you got to get the contracts in order to be able to do this. So, but that's it right now. Sanne Kant looking really like she's struggling at the start here with this pace, or is she just playing it cool and know that these guys are gonna have to let up at some point, get back into it? She hasn't looked great in the opening lap so far this season.
No, and just ahead of Anna Kay, Ellen Van Looy going through here. So just getting a good look. Alicia Frank is the next Experza Footlogix rider. Van der Heijden in the orange. Lechner just trying to power her way back on. Celine Del Carmen Alvarado came into the season super strong. There's Frank. Just Yara Castelline again. Castelline, she would have been absolutely kicking herself after that little tumble last week.
Yeah, I'm sure she would have, but if we're looking at this situation here now, it looks almost like the 777 riders are actually working well together. So Castelline really putting the pace up on this flatter section here now, and with Anne-Marie Wurst in the wheel, are they setting trying to set the win up for Wurst?
Yeah, you never know. So they were just pushing this one out. Laura Verdonschot, good start here. This is the best start we've seen so far from Laura Verdonschot this season.
Yeah, definitely. She, as well, has been one of those riders that we've kind of been missing a little bit in certain, well, quite a lot of the races. Not being quite as far to the fore as what we've been used to see over the last couple of years, but it looks like she's slowly but surely finding her legs again. Happy to take up the pacemaking here on the start-finish line again.
So you have it at the end of lap one. Verdonschot comes through to the front at the end of the opening lap. So that Castelline goes through. So 7:34 is our time. Van der Heijden, Lechner, Sanne Kant just leading through. So this front group just coming together a little bit. Lechner just makes it on. So Alicia Frank, 9 seconds. Hittehoek, Kim van der Stine is the next rider to come through. Maria Norbert Rieberola, it looks like, leading this next group through. So Rieberola with Troyen and Anais Grimaud, a good ride yesterday's. Katie Keogh comes through on the front of that group. Beth Crumpton just dropping back after that good start, but a strong leading group already forming on lap 2.
Yeah, very strong leading group, and Anne-Marie Wurst has not really got out of second wheel at any point so far in this race. Right at the start, you had Beth Crumpton being up there, and with Anne-Marie Wurst in second wheel, and then Yara Castelline basically did most of the work throughout the opening lap, and it's now Wurst is finding herself on the wheel of Verdonschot.
So this section here, this flowing section through here. Good to see Paushausen Bingo represented at the front of this one. We've got the Creofin team as well for Eva Lechner.
Clearly must be faster to run up here, as no one is really trying, as we saw Beth Crumpton doing in the opening lap here, trying to ride this climb, but seems to be definitely one of them that you have to run.
Little course update from Cameron Mason from Trinity Racing out there, racing a little bit later on, and Jolien Verschuren going through there, as we said, just coming back into racing this year. Report from the course from Cameron Mason's conditions very dry for Gavere. The whole course is rideable if you have the skills. Most riders are on Griffo intermediates. Tom and him are running 117 and 119 bars in their tyres. Main climb, the most important part of the course being smooth and linking the sections together will be the key. And he said Gavere is the course with the most climbing, but after yesterday in Berringen it almost feels flat.
yeah, it is a very hilly course, but Berringen yesterday was exceptional. But yeah, interesting to hear that it's for the men 100% rideable, and they're going for the Griffo intermediate tyre.
Chris Bennett just asking, hey GCN, assuming these not all these ladies will be heading to the women's World Tour teams, what do they do in the off season, and what do they do to get ready for the following cyclocross season? A lot of riders head off in different road teams, don't they?
Well, they tend to ride a lot on the road. A lot of them do mountain biking as well, and every rider's got their way of preparing for the cyclocross season. But there's quite a few riders who are on different road teams, not necessarily the highest level, but they tend to spend a lot of time on the road, and you have to get ready for the cyclocross season, because it's still very much an endurance sport. It's an hour of flat out effort, 50 minutes for the women. So you need the road legs to be able to do this, but also the skills from a mountain biking will definitely be worth working on, as we see some of these descents are very, very technical, and obviously with the muddy conditions as well.
Yeah, just could see the chain flicking around there. It looked like a Zanata bike of the Tartaletto team. A little gap back here to Sanagan. Hirta Hooker just trying to come in through as well. Alicia Frank, but there's your leading group. So Verst, Castelline, Verdonschot, Alvarado, Van der Heyden, Lechner.
Interesting to see on that slow-mo there how much chain slap that rider actually had still. You see less and less of that with the introduction of the clutch mechs, and much stiffer sort of springs in the rear mech, so the chain tends to not move anywhere near as much, and especially if you're running a one-bar system, you need to have that.
You can see Alicia Maria Azzuffi has found her way through, didn't get a great start. As we say, sometimes doesn't panic. Alicia Maria Azzuffi, the winner last year, finds her way back. So Eva Lechner, now the Italian national champion, through to the front. This is a great course for Eva Lechner as well.
Yeah, it definitely is, and she's a very, very strong climber and a very, very good mountain biker as well. So this is a course that really does suit her, and looks like Anneke is working hard here to try and get herself back into the front group. Sanne Kant is really not. She's not looking good at all. She's had a couple of. She had one DNF not long ago as well, and yeah, I think she's struggling with some form of a physical condition.
Could be. Leading out. So just thanks all of you for tuning in, and thanks for all of you getting on board on the chat forums as well. So thanks Mike Kunica. Glad you've enjoyed having Maggie alongside me. There's lots of you, Derek Griggs. We're disappointed about Katie Compton. Jonathan Berge checking in on Facebook as well. I think from Canada, rainy morning in Canada as well. Thanks all of you for getting on board. Not looking happy here, Sanne Kant, at all. You can see she doesn't hide her emotions, does she, at all, when she's like this?
No, she doesn't. I don't know, something is not right. I think we've seen her sort of drift back. I can't remember which race it was now that she didn't finish on, but she was drifting backwards there as well, and really didn't look. It looks like, the leg. There's no energy in the body for the one. Well, it's almost like the lights are on, but no one's home kind of scenario, and it's not great to see a rider who should be right up in the mix here now, struggling as much as she is. And hope they find out what's wrong and can
And
fix it relatively quickly.
we're so used to just seeing a, week in, week out, just knocking out those victories, knocking out those big results. You just get a beautiful shot here. Lechner, Castelline, Verdonschott, Verst, Adzufi, Del Carmen Alvarado, Van der Heijden, the world under-23 champion, just rides onto the back of that group. I must say, I love this cable cam that they use in the Super Prestige series. It's one of the best camera shots. If you're a bit of a production geek like I am, it's absolutely phenomenal. This cam. They use it in the Super Bowl and things, don't they?
Yeah, they do. It just gives you a bit of an appreciation for the speed as well, how quick they're actually travelling. And, yeah, I do like a good cable cam shot.
It is Teddy Allen just asking what happened to Sophie de Boer. Again, came into the season, started the season, and isn't quite with it at the moment. Sophie de Boer.
No, but also Sophie de Boer has been riding for Parkhotel Valkenburg on the road all season, so she's had quite a big road program. And it might just have been that she carried on into the first couple of cyclocross races with the road legs that she had finishing off that season, and then taking a bit of a break to freshen up, sharpen up the technique a little bit, and do some cyclo-specific training. And we'll see her back in again.
Yeah, I'm sure we will. Caitlin Keogh, you can see there, 37 seconds down in 14th. The American Sana Kant at 26. And that next group, here's your leading group here, still Ava Lechner knocking out that tempo on the front. Hirte Hooker, we just saw starting to get onto the coattails of that group yesterday. She had a phenomenal ride yesterday.
Yeah, well, this is a course that really should suit her quite well. She's a very, very good climber. Technically not the sharpest rider out there, but she's just so strong in the climbing, and because there is, like I said earlier, it's one of the hardest circuits on the cross calendar. So it wouldn't surprise me if we see her getting back into the mix.
Well, this leading group, you can again see nice close racing at the head of the race. Ava Lechner, that early tumble that she took last week, and I think that when you saw her second place in Boom, it kind of belied the strength that she had to come back from that early tumble.
Yeah, I think you're right, and Ellen Van Looy as well, also getting back into it as well. She's another rider who starts a little bit slower, but with the experience that she has, she just plugs away at her tempo and she gets back into the race again. Looking at the some of the riders are struggling to get their feet into the pedals, so the mud that they got when they're on the run-ups is sticking to the cleats and the shoes, and is making them struggle to get their feet back in.
So Alvarado in there as well, the winner of the opening round of the Super Prestige Series. If you're just tuning in, welcome aboard. There's Mount Captains, hasn't started as well. They've got a Katie Compton as a DNS as well. Erin Mitchell, who we picked out as well, she didn't start. Sharon Van Anrooy as well, hasn't started today. And, into this climb, Lechner, this is again, these climbing courses really do suit her. Fiona Turnbull not starting as well, which is a shame.
Fiona took a tumble yesterday as well, so I think she might have some physical problems after that.
Sana Kant into the pits for a bike change. Just Katie Keogh, you can just see her in the background. So the world champion, said not quite having the start to the season that we're used to. And again, sometimes if you've got an issue, so Sana, again, we know she just likes to power on. But if something's not right, sometimes it's better to just not take a DNF, go back, see what's up, and come back. We saw her kind of do it beginning of last winter as well. We saw her kind of DNF a couple of races last year.
Yeah, we did, and this is where it's so important to have some good people around you, some strong management, agents or coaches around you to basically pull you out of the races and then basically say, look, you're not starting. End of discussion, because a bike rider is always going to want to race. This is what they train all year for. This is what they love doing. So putting that number on, and they become a different animal, and that's when they are at their happiest. So I think it's probably worth Sana Kant trying to work out what's going on, because she shouldn't be as far down as she is at the moment.
No, not at all. She's got a bit of kinesio tape.
Yeah, just looks like there's something going on with her right calf, a bit of tape on there, but that shouldn't hold her back to this level, unless it's a serious issue. But then again, she shouldn't have been on the start line if it was that bad.
Alicia Maria Azzuffi through to the front. Celine Del Carmenaro, Verado, Verdonschot, Verst, Castelline, Lechner, Van der Heijden, Van Looyen. K is your order. Lap 3 of 6 that we are on here. So this leading group still very, very much, everyone in this group still very much in the game. Hirta Hurka there, you can see the Guerciotti rider not far off the back of this one. First just dropping back a little bit under the pressure of the front.
I wonder whether was just feeling the yesterday's race in her legs as well. It was a very, very tough course, and she had to ride pretty hard in that one as well, trying to save her legs for today though, but didn't really work out to save them on with the amount of climbing there was on yesterday's course. So obviously some of the fresh riders coming in for just doing the Super Prestige in Gavere here today is that they're going to be somewhat fresher, and obviously when it's such a hard course, you've got to be fresh for it.
Caitlin Keogh from CannondaleCyclocrossWorld.com just riding onto the back now of the world champion on this climb, long climb that we've got on this section of the course. Anna Kant just rocking and rolling those shoulders. That's always Sanna's style though, isn't it, even when she's going well?
Yeah, it doesn't really matter how fast she's going, she still has that same very technique. But here we are now, Azzuffi, Castellane and Alvarado.
So that group just starting to clip off the front. Azzuffi, last year's winner, Alicia Maria Azzuffi. Is it going to be another day for the Italians? What a week, 1 and 2 last week. Just the 777 riders here, just bossing it with Alvarado. Alvarado, the Corendon Circus rider, just sat in the middle of these 2 riders. Doug Small, big shout out to the Scottish Cyclo-cross hosting the National Series in Irvine in Scotland today. Thank you for checking in. Good luck to everyone taking part in that one. A few of you asking if we do road racing as well. We've been here all year doing road racing as well. Yeah, we do. We've shown a lot of the women's racing as well. Giro, Rosa. We've done a lot. We did La Course to certain territories as well. So we've done a lot on the roads this year as well. Into the road section, our trio of leaders now. Alicia Maria Azzuffi, can she double up in the last 2 weeks and also defend her title? There's Verst and Verdonschot with a little gap out to Lechner now. So there you have it through there. Let's just see what the gap is. Back to Verst. So they are at 10 seconds for Verdonschot and Verst. Here's Anna Kay now attacking over the top of this group with Hirta Hurka, the Exposer Foot Logics rider just coming up. So Lechner, Hurka, Van der Heijden, Van Looyen. 18 seconds, so still manageable. And then you've got a bit of a gap back to Alicia Frank and Kim van der Steener. So those are the riders chasing down. Alicia Frank here, another Exposer Foot Logics rider. And then Katie Keogh is just gradually just grinding her way back through the field.
Yeah, it's. I think it's kind of an important point in the race here now for the riders who are chasing that front group. They, with Anna Kay taking over the pacemaking there, they need to get themselves back on terms very quickly. And same thing for Anne-Marie Wurst. If you let Alicia Maria Azzuffi and Jan Castellane plug away at this one with Alvarado in there as well, and then I think that gap will grow very, very quickly. So get yourself back on terms as soon as possible here now.
3 laps to go. And back to your leading group. Riders dismount as they go through this section. As we said earlier on, it's the riders favouring to run this section. Now it's the red jersey from 777 that threw to the front. I've got to say that, so again, when you watch the way Alvarado made her way back through the field early on in this one, the running speed that she's got, I've noticed it very much the first part of this season, such quick feet on the run-ups.
Yeah, she is very very light feet as well. She just seems like it's effortless running up. Well, anytime she's off the bike running, really. But yeah, A bit of a moment there.
Nice
See
slow-mo.
the concentration in their eyes, spotting the lines.
There's Alvarado going through. Sanakant. Again, you see the arm pump of the riders as well on these sections, on these slow-mos as well. World champion going through there. Corey Coogan-Cesek sitting in 22nd, you can see there. Abby May Parkinson at 2:49. Bodovica is up there at 2:52. And now Castelline going clear.
Going clear a bit and putting some pressure on Alvarado to chase. And I think for Arzufi it's going to be important here now that she follows Alvarado, because that will put a fair bit of pressure on Alvarado. If they can sort of tag team and keep on attacking Alvarado, then it's going to end up being a great day for the 777 riders.
For Sanakant as well, leading in the series overall, if she's not feeling it, again, is it worth just watching, keeping those points, getting up there and seeing,
well,
you know?
Because it is what they call a classement cross in Belgium, so you know, it's got a GC overall classification for this. Any points that you can pick up, so it could end up being very vital at the end of the season. So as long as Kant is in the points, then I think she needs to keep on battling on. But you know, if they end up sort of missing out on points, then you might as well pull the plug and leave it there.
So this battle now, the Laura Vidonschott with Annemarie Verst. Anna Kay is finding her way onto those two riders just ahead of her. There's Ava Lefner chasing down that group. You saw Anna Kay battling to as she attacked through the finish line. She again just makes contact with Verst and Vidonschott. So again, these teams represented in this one. Annemarie Verst comes through for 777. Then it's Lechner, Van der Heijden, Hooker and Van Looy, the orders. Again, so many teams all represented here at the head of the race.
Yeah, it is, and it's great to see, and yet again another season of fantastic cyclo-cross racing with the women, where we don't really know who's going to win, and there's so many different riders capable of winning the race, and you know, it's fantastic racing. So Alvarado's having to try and come around Arzufi there, but opts to go in the same rut as everyone else.
So Castelline just starting to stretch that gap now over a teammate, and Alvarado digging in onto the wheel. We saw Castelline last week go clear, then take a tumble on that big drop in bone.
Yeah, I think if I was the team manager of the 777 riders now, I would probably tell Arzufi to just hold back a fraction, let Castelline get a bit of a bigger gap, and let Alvarado do all the chasing, and then when she's lost a little bit of legs, then you go for big moves and try and bridge across to your teammate.
Now this group now, Castelline going clear. So former national champion as a junior and as a youngster. She's again just starting to look at getting these major results. A couple of wins last year over in the Czech Republic and in Switzerland. Those races that Helen Wyman always says, go over and build those UCI points. Plenty of podiums for Yara Castelline. Again, she's that sort of rider that we're just looking for those breakthrough victories, aren't we?
Yeah, definitely. Gap here looks about 9 seconds back to Annemarie Verst at the moment from the three leaders.
Okay, trying to get on.
Anna is having a great start to the season so far. Really is looking very, very strong, and I think she keeps on picking up big points here all the time. Then we're going to see her getting some more front row starts, which is obviously, it's so important in any cyclocross to get yourself right up there on the front row in the start. It's up to you then whether you're able to get your feet in quickly enough and stay with them. But rather than starting on second or third row and having to battle your way through traffic, it's a much easier way to get yourself in the mix right from the go. And Anna's had to work hard to get herself into the mix of on the front end of this race again.
So stretch that gap. Azufi now goes to the side. So flicks from one side to the other. Alvarado just trying to pick a line here. So the 777, they've got Annemarie Verse just behind, going through for the next lap. And again, for Yara Castelline, these again, then they're looking at this course. She's got it dialed in nicely. A few of you commenting over on the forum about the lack of planks, the lack of barriers today. The course kind of is kind of enough today, isn't it?
Yeah, I definitely think so. Some races you need to create obstacles for the riders. Other races you just let the nature itself sort of take its toll on the riders. And however, is one of those courses where it's hard enough to sort of not to have to force riders off the bike again. There's enough run-ups, there's enough really hard climbs to do to leave its dent and make it a selective enough race anyway.
Yeah, so you go through, so 29.18, 2 laps to go. You can see there, so Herco 7th, Van Heiden 8th, Ava Lechner still in 9th, 41 seconds separating this group, 42 seconds back to Ellen Van Looy in 10th place, then Alicia Frank will come in next, she'll be around the minute mark, and then you go back to Kim van der Stene here from Tartaletto Easter Eggs, and Caitlin Keogh from Cannondale cyclocrossworld.com. It's our leader, our chaser, and our defending champion on this slow-mo on the descent. Maria Azufi, if you weren't with us for racing last week in Bohm, it was that rider there that took the victory ahead of Lechner, Kant, Verst, Castelline 5th after going clear and taking a tumble, Alvarado 6th, Van der Stene, Inge van der Heijden, Mount Captains, and Ellen Van Looy was your top 10 last week in Bohm. If you weren't with us earlier on, your standings, Kant leading with 27 from Lechner and Alvarado, Castelline in 4th with 24 points in the under-23 classification. It's that rider there, Celine Delcalman Alvarado, leading in the under-23 classification ahead of Van der Heijden and Annick van Alphen. Azufi just sat in tight behind them. And again, just a little gap back to this chaser group. So Verdonschot and Kay are going to have to be the ones here that do the work to try and close this gap down.
Yeah, definitely. And I think Annemarie Wurst is feeling yesterday's race. She's not quite looking as light on the feet and as sharp as we have been sort of accustomed to see this season, really. But still up there, still in the mix, and as we say, it's a long game that you got to play as well. You got to score as heavily as you possibly can every single race you're in there, and. With Annemarie Wurst, she hasn't had the greatest of start to the Superprestige series. You know, she only picked up 4 points in Heaton, and then 12 points in Boom last time around. So, yeah, she just needs to keep on plugging away and getting more points on it.
Alvarado attacks that climb. You saw Azufi come through. Alvarado swept through on the inside. Once that front position, she will be able to see the teammate of the Italian that's on her wheel heading down the other side of that section there. Your lone leader, Yara Castelline, looking for that first big elite victory. It's a little replay. Here you go. It was just as I said, she swept through on the inside of that section. She's got to make sure here. She wants to head it. She wants the clear track ahead of her. She wants to make sure that Azufi's just not running a little bit of interference.
Yeah, definitely, especially on some of the sort of easier, faster sections. Alvarado looks to be slightly better there on the technical parts on the descent, but then Azufi is seeming at the moment to be somewhat stronger on the longer, harder climbs.
Camera just pans up to your two chasers. Thanks all of you for your chat. Jono asking on the forum why are FootLogic still getting free advertising? They're still on their on their website and on the start list as experts of FootLogics. If you know something different, then thanks for putting that in. We can check that. Fabrizio Lacconi checking in as well. Now, a lot of you around the world watching our coverage here today on GCN Racing. Anna Kay, the Great Britain rider, trying to find her way up here towards this group. Azufi comes through again into the front here of Celine Delcalman Alvarado. Corendon Circus rider, the winner of the opening round in Heaton, and won it by 55 seconds.
Sophie's going hard here now. She's really trying to snap the elastic with Alvarado, and this is what we saw last time around as well. And Sophie was on the front, kind of testing Alvarado, and it seems like Sophie's got the measure of the Dutch rider going up here.
She has indeed. So now just stretching it out, has a little glance back over the shoulder, and again you get what we, as we were saying a little bit earlier on, Maggie, got to make sure you don't drag the riders up to them. You can't. She's in cyclocross, very much individual. She's let Del Carmen Alvarado kind of use up the matches, use up the beans in the power
Yeah.
pot, and then go for it.
Burn some matches definitely, and at the moment, yeah, she's. It looks like Sophie is getting 5, 10, 15 meters, but is she going to be able to completely snap the elastic here now before they get up to the easier section of riding, or is Alvarado going to be able to ride herself back on again to the wheel of Sophie?
Zuffi looking great so far this year. The Italian having a great start to the season, and again, this was a sort of little mistake. And this is the point, isn't it? The little mistakes start creeping in.
Well, it's just you're under pressure, and you commit to that corner a bit harder than what you normally would do, and it's just the pressure of trying to get back on again. So you're taking some risks that you normally wouldn't take, and if they pay off, great, then you're bringing yourself half a second or a second closer to the rider in front of you. But if you get it wrong, then all of a sudden you've lost another meter or two.
So lap 5 of 6, if you're just joining us, welcome aboard. This is the Superprestige series from Gavere. This is the elite women's race, and if you're not sure of the format and how it all works, here we have the elite women, then we have our little half time, and then the men's race will start at 2 p.m. UK time. So you have about half an hour between the two races. There's Jolien Verschuren, again, just putting in the time, putting in the hours, just coming back a little bit at a time. Jolien.
Slowly but surely, yeah, she seems to be improving, and she's looking better for every race that we see her at, and nothing would give me greater pleasure than to watch her actually get herself back into finishing a race in a decent position.
I don't think there'll be a dry eye in the commentary box when we see her get back and do that. I think there'll be a lot of emotion there. Coming through for the belt, Yara Castelline will go through this time. It's a very quick race today, isn't it, as well? This beautiful cable cam shot that we've got, 36.29. Yara Castelline goes through there, but absolutely smashing it today.
Yeah, it is very quick indeed.
And Zuffi goes through at 13. So Zuffi has managed to distance herself from Alvarado. Alvarado just going through there. We're going to update. So 23 seconds. So 10 seconds Zuffi opened on that attack. Verdonschot first. And then Anna Kay just trying to find her way back here. As Ava Lechner powers out of that corner. It's still very close here, this group here.
Yeah, it definitely is. Anna Kay just seems like she's struggling a bit on that difficult climb, and she's just getting distanced by Anne-Marie Worst and Laura Verdonschot. And then she seems to get back in as well as on the run-up.
Van der Heijden and Hooker right behind there, so 56 back to Lechner, 46 to Kay. Hooker at a minute. Van der Heijden is with her. They give her a minute and 1. The last lap, Yara Castelline is looking good here today. Was looking phenomenal last week as well. Was Yara Castelline on to this run up now for the 777 team. Again, the work that they have been doing as a team, you can just see it's, again, as they always say, excuse the cliche, success breeds success, doesn't it?
Right, it does, definitely. And when you've got such a team of riders who are so evenly matched, and any one of them can win on any given weekend, and if you then start training together, it's just going to force you to get even faster, even better for every week that goes by in training as well. And this is, I think, what is happening for the 777 riders, and they've invested in younger talent as well from the word go, really. And I think with that they're in a position which is, they got a lot of talent that allowed to sort of come through, build up, get stronger, get better, and now you're starting to reap the fruits of that patience that they've had as a team.
Yeah, a lot, as we said, a lot of investment into this team, this rider here. And again, if you look at Yara Castelline, the way that she's, some of the results that she's had so far, second in Dordrecht, one of those sort of preparation crosses, second in GP Pelt, second at Poldercross, third in Heaton, so she's, you know, and then
fairly consistent, you'd say.
Fairly consistent, you would say. Again, you look at that seconds, thirds all the time, and that it's just kind of for a rider like Yara, it's that win is almost there, isn't it?
Yeah, it definitely is, and it almost happened last time around in Boom, but unfortunately the mud got the better of her and on a couple of occasions. But I think she's definitely been knocking on the door for that win, and it's about to come here, I believe.
22 years old is our leader. What a strength of talent of young riders that we have there. Celine Del Carmen Alvarado, one of the revelations of the last couple of seasons in cyclocross. We saw her come through as a privateer and got picked up by Corridon Circus. Alicia Maria Azzuffi as well, the Italian rider. And what, you know, it's great to see riders like Azzuffi and Lechner as Italian riders riding for Belgian teams. You know, they're getting up there, putting themselves into the north and investing in their craft.
Yeah, it's fantastic to see, and it's one of those commitments I think as a cyclocross rider you need to make. You got to move over to Belgium. You got to live, eat, and breathe the cyclocross world, and race these races weekend in, weekend out, and you got your training grounds over there as well on some of these courses. And with that, it's it becomes ingrained in you, and especially if you have a team like the 777s, where you can train. If you can train together every single training ride, then you're gonna find that battle, that you know, almost racing when you're doing your interval sessions against each other, and there's no better way really.
So a few of you asking in terms of the series and where the Super Prestige sits. So the Super Prestige, we take the World Cups, Super Prestige DVV, which starts on the Koppenberg Cross next week. Kind of, you would say, in World Cyclocross, the two sort of next most important series, would you say?
I'd definitely say so, without a shadow of a doubt. And it's for the riders, they're not far off as important as a World Cup is at the moment. Especially the Super Prestige has been going for such a long period of time now, and every single one of these riders would want to put their name to the overall of this.
Yeah, definitely. And again, we've got go back to the chase. Verdonschott, Verst, K on this section as well. Just trying to get back on to this group. Annemarie Verst really put herself out there yesterday with that tough course that we had, the Beringen Cross yesterday, that huge climb. A lot of riders decided to sit out that one, I think, because they looked at the climb, thought they might save their legs, because you can see there's a lot of, Cameron Mason said in his WhatsApp message to me, there's a lot of climbing on this course as well.
Well, it is, we can see it, and especially that climb going up through the forest, it seems to take its toll on the riders. And then you got all of these little sharp kickers as well, false flat drags, which in these conditions where, okay, it's kind of dry for Gavere, it's very dry, but it's still gripping hold of the tires. You still feel like it's not running as free as it could be, and it takes its toll on the legs.
Alicia Maria Azzuffi sitting in 5th overall in the Super Prestige Series with 20 points for Azzuffi. So again, if she wants to take this series overall, consistency is the key, doubling up on podiums as well. Verdonschott here, putting those sort of knee injuries that she had last winter behind her for Pau Sals and Bingo, finding some good form here. Anna Kay, again, just not far off the back of this group.
Well, the interesting thing is between Alvarado and Castellane, there's only 1 point, and then you got Azzuffi then, so 25 points for Alvarado, 24 for Castellane, 20 for Azzuffi. So it's tied at the top at the moment.
Yeah, so the riders, here she comes into the home straight, the 777 rider. This is always a special moment for you, the viewers, and us here when we see, again, a young rider coming through and get a big victory. It's 777 jersey again. Last year it was Ellie Maria Zufi, and here she is in second place in this one. But it's going to be Yara Castellane today. She sits up. She almost did it last week in Boom. She does it this week. Here in Gavere. Yara Castellane is your winner, and it's going to be a 1-2 on the podium for 777. Alicia Maria Zufi of Italy crossing the line for second place. A good defense. She took the win last year. There you have it. Stops the watch. First and second. There you have it. So 777, 1 and 2. And then it should be Celine Del Carmen Alvarado that crosses the line next. So there you have it. There's your third place. So Verst and Verdonschott are fourth and fifth. And here comes Anna Kay in sixth. And you can see that sprint from the group behind. And Eva Lechner sprinting it out here with Inga van der Heijden. So they're just crossing the line next. Herta Hukka, another good day for Herta. She crosses the line in ninth. And then it'll be Ellen Van Looy, the next rider to come in, with Alicia Frank not far behind her. Katie Keogh just comes out of that bottom corner as well. Ellen Van Looy finishing there. Way to the crowd. You can see a lot of the ride. Yesterday we had, you know, we see a lot of the time. We see lots of high fives down the finishing line. It's been a pretty brutal day today. Not so many riders high-fiving the crowd on the finish line. Here's Kim van der Stine here.
I think it's been a tough day out there today for all of the riders, without a shadow of a doubt. And but it also just shows the commitment that they got to delivering today. The Super Prestige being so important on the calendar for every rider, and yeah, it's no one's held anything back. I can guarantee you that.
Not at all. And this rider will be looking towards Koppenberg next Friday, former winner of that race. And again, just pretty steady at the moment. She had some health problems again at the back end of after that success last season. Just a little bit at a time.
Yeah, and we heard from her yesterday as well, saying that she's still not 100% and there's still something there, but it's nothing that's going to get worse by her riding, from what they were saying anyway. And yeah, she's going to continue to plug away. She's definitely, for someone who's not 100%, she's not doing too badly.
Sana Kant, the world champion, coming in, has persisted with this one. Respect to the world champion as well. Could have pulled the ripcord and gone home, but decided, you know, pressing on, wants to finish.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, you've got to take your hat off to Sana Kante, because it's not easy riding around with the world stripes on you, the rainbow jersey, and finishing down in 14th position. It's not where she wants to be. It's not where we all kind of expect her to be, and I think that's probably the most difficult part for her, is that she's expecting it where everyone else around her is expecting her to be in the mix, and she's not at the moment for one reason or another. And hopefully we'll find out what's going on, and hopefully she'll get herself back into being part of the front row racing again.
Yeah, Maria Norbert Riberola, the next rider to come here, she will be 15th for the Expersa team. And then Anais Grimaud again. Anais Grimaud just out of that bottom corner there, you can see is going to be the next rider to come in, another French rider. Anais into this series, and again we see riders like that coming in from the French national series. They've got France, as we do in most countries. Switzerland got IKZ, France have got a very strong domestic scene as well. And Julie de Wilde coming in there is the next rider to come in.
First junior rider, I think, coming across the line. So Julie de Wilde had a good road season as well, right, for Dolcini.
Yeah, Dolcini team, Dolcini Van Eyck team. So here comes the next riders coming in. Is that Beth Crumpton coming in? Is going to looks like she's going to make a top 20 here, coming behind Martha Troyan. So the Tartaletto rider just coming in there, and again, great start though for Beth. And when you get into that position, she did the right thing. She went through to the front, and again, it's little lessons that you take from that little section, that little run up, and again, the power, the consistency, the endurance to be able to stay at the front of these races. You're only gonna get them from riding there at the front, getting that confidence. The ride, she took a top 10 yesterday. She led out today. Little building blocks.
Yeah, and it's definitely, she's also realised that she's got the start, she's got the speed and power to be as quick as the front, the best riders in the world, really. And Beth is still very much on the move towards the front end of the race. She's having this start and having the guts to try and ride this particular section as well. I think it bodes well. So let's see if she can continue building on her physical ability to get that bit stronger to be in the race to the final.
Yeah, there you have it. At that point, Lechner, Castelline through towards the front. They really were smashing it. It's been a very, very fast race, this one. You can see right from the start, Yara Castelline. Again, if you've been with us so far this year for cyclocross action here on GCN Racing, you'd have seen this rider. She's been there and thereabouts, and that first big elite win, taking it in Superprestige. This is a classic race. This, when you look back through the history, the riders that have won this: Katie Compton, Sanne Van Passen, Nikki Bramier, Sanne Kant's won it 4 times, Ellen Van Looy as well. That's it. You're putting your name on a fairly good roll call.
Yeah, definitely. That's a good list, that is.
And that was where Adzufi as well, the bell lap there for Castelline. And there, Adzufi getting away from Celine Del Carmen Alvarado, the Corendon Circus rider. And again, that's European Champions bike, the under-23 champion of Europe. Castelline, once she was out in front today, there was doing no wrong. A very measured ride for the 777 rider. And you can see there, happy days for Yara Castelline. And her teammate crossing the line. Again, Adzufi is so consistent this season.
Yeah, really. The whole team of 777 is incredibly consistent all the way through, from the start until now, and they don't show any signs of letting up either.
No, not at all. There's Anna-Marie Wurst and Laura Verdonschott just coming in there. Anna K, Lechner and Van der Heijden. So great race. That was seriously quick, that one, wasn't it?
It was not at all what we're used to seeing in Gavere. It's been a lot more of a mud fest and a slog through the mud over the last couple of seasons, but it's still slippery enough in there and grippy enough, I would say, for it to be a hard race. And obviously with the amount of climbing as well that's on that circuit, it's no easy feat. So I think the guys that raced yesterday are definitely gonna feel it today.
And for someone like Yara Castelline, we said, 22 years old. Yeah. When you've been the national champion in a country like the Netherlands as a debutante and as a junior, it kind of bodes well for your career, doesn't it? And again, but it just takes, when you get into the elite ranks, and we've seen it with other riders, it just takes a little while, doesn't it, just to get sort of physically mature enough to be able to sort of win against the likes of Sanne Kant.
Yeah, it does, definitely, and also working up to the point where you got enough UCI points to be on ideally front row, but at worst second row in the start line. That makes such a big difference as well, not having to fight to get to the front of the race. Like we saw Anna Kay today, having to really push to get herself in the mix of it. So it's a question of allowing yourself to make those sort of little improvements year by year, whether it's physically, technically, and so on, to just chip away at it, and having a team around you who are patient enough to allow you to develop, because they know in the long term they're going to end up with a really high quality bike rider, and that's what they all want anyway. And right now, 777s are there. They are the team to beat.
They are a dream scenario for Bart Vellens as well. Now, if you're not sure of the format, if you're with us here on GCN Racing for Cyclo-cross for the first time, the men's race starts on the hour, so it's about 25 minutes or so. We are back about 10 to the hour. We'll give you the full top 10 and a bit of a podium of the women's race as well just before that. Got a little bit of halftime entertainment for you. This week, I caught up with Anna Kay, and we also got a little feature from Jeremy as well. We will be back in a little while. How much of a difference has having Helen there as a kind of mentor, what sort of involvement she's having, and how important is it to have someone of her experience sort of guiding you?
It's been massive. Like I really don't think I would be where I am at the minute if I hadn't have prepared as well this summer with them. Like just so much, like she has so much insight about courses and like other riders, and she has a nutritionist that helped, and just like advice on tires. Like, well, Steph works with Challenge, so he knows all about the tire choices and tire pressures, and that's something I've never really been that confident with. And obviously we can use their training house in France, so.
We love it when she commentates, because when Helen's commentating, she'll be like, well, this will happen there and that'll happen there and that'll happen there, which is always great to have as a co-commentator. And you're like, it's like exactly happened. I'd pass here, I'd pass there.
Every time.
So one question that we have had is, how does your training change in terms of sort of periodization and intensity and duration through the summer into the cross season, and then managing to sort of maintain and build your form across the whole winter?
Yeah, so I worked with Steph over the summer, and we did a lot of like endurance based stuff at the start, and then kept that going. And then more towards the end of the summer, we did a lot of like threshold and sprint work. And kind of carried that on a bit, so I'm still kind of doing that. And the past week, maybe 2 weeks, I've done a bit more short and sharp stuff. But this week I've done a bit more endurance stuff, and I think that'll carry on until probably December time, and then back off towards the end of the year, and taper up for nationals. But I've done a lot more this year than I have ever before. So I think it's just also about looking after yourself and recovering well.
One thing that we've got this year that we didn't have a lot last year was mud. And I think you can correct me if I'm wrong. It was your first US racing trip in cyclocross when you went over for the World Cup. How was that? And you had some pretty savage conditions for that second World Cup.
Yeah, that was probably some of the worst mud I've ever rode in on there for that second World Cup round. It was mental. But I never really used to like the mud, but I think I actually quite like it now. You learn to ride in it, and like you learn your style of riding in it. But that was pretty bad. Like
now I know it's we're kind of putting you out there because you're only 20 as well, but for any young riders that are coming through, that are watching you and seeing you at 20 up there and progressing and now standing on World Cup podiums, is there any advice that you've gleaned from the wise people around you like Helen and Steph and everyone else that would be a good piece of advice to any young riders coming through? For
me, I think to give advice to someone else would just be to enjoy riding your bike. Like if you don't enjoy it, then why you shouldn't do it. Just enjoy it, don't stress.
Well, we love you joining us. We love that. Whenever I look at a course now, when someone says it's a good course, but I go, is it Anna K mint though? Is it mint? That's what we all want to know whenever we look at a course now. Exactly. So thanks for joining us, thanks for taking the time, and we wish you all the best.
Thank you, thanks very much.
Hey everyone, it's Jeremy, and we're talking about the all-new GCN Cyclo-cross podcast. Yes, we have a podcast. It's all about international flavor on our podcast. We're doing our best to bring you the information from all around the globe. The history books don't go back far enough to know exact number of national championship titles that you have.
I can figure it out. I should figure it out because actually cyclocross is my youngest discipline.
I like that. All right, well, we'll put that somewhere. We'll find that out and put that on the Twitter account.
I just mainly miss her, you know. Just wish we could.
I do.
Could you tell in the race? I was like, wait, I miss you. Why don't you slow down?
That wasn't the exact conversation I think you guys were having. I saw a bit of drool coming off you, and I saw her with her mouth wide open going as hard. But like your great friend that you helped bring up went on to win a World Cup, and you were the person that was chasing
I can
down.
take all the credit for her work.
That's
because
right.
then you're like, yeah, I did that.
My man Erwin Verwecken.
We used to ride a lot Saturday, Sunday for start money because that was the big part of our salary or what we earned. And that has changed. We see riders skipping certain races, also going on a training camp, usually early December. So the season is more in two parts compared to what we did.
Pretty much across the globe right now, we are seeing a ton of precipitation. There's literally mud in every single picture of cyclocross that I see on Instagram, no matter what country you're in. And it's pretty crazy to see all the precipitation and true cyclocross conditions coming out for the season.
What's even more impressive is when you say precipitation in live commentary. It's like when my daughter used to call it biscotti instead of spaghetti. I would never attempt that, especially live on TV.
So check it out wherever you get your podcasts from. Please leave us a review and subscribe so that you know every time we drop a new episode. Also, shoot us a line on social media so that we have your feedback. And as always, thank you so much for tuning in and listening.
Today, we're going to be talking about why your gravel bike may or may not be right for the cyclocross course and some of my favorite tips for when you go to the bike shop and you're looking for a new ride. So as the days get a little shorter and the night temps get a little cooler, you start to get that feeling. Cyclocross is in the air. Your next thought is that you start daydreaming about mud and off cambers, but then reality hits and you ask yourself, how can I save a little bit of money? It might be tempting to think that your gravel bike can tear it up on the cross course. And the truth is, they might just be able to. With all of the different titles that these bikes have, aero gravel, regular gravel, cyclo-cross, what is it that makes these bikes different from one another? So the first thing that we're gonna do is test these bikes against each other on a small course that I made just down the street from my house. So first up is the Greville, just as I ride it on the gravel roads with 42C tires.
3, 2, 1.
In the other corner is the Orbea Terra, which is Orbea's gravel bike, and it's mounted up with Continental's 35C cyclocross tires. 3, 2, 1. Okay, last up is the Canyon in-flight cyclocross bike. It is the challenger, but it's on its home court advantage. I've got 35C Continental cyclocross tires on this. Let's see how she does. 3, 2, 1. Okay, so before we get to the results of that very hotly contested race, And trust me, there were fans everywhere. We're going to talk about the 3 things that I think are the big factors when you're picking a cyclocross versus a gravel bike. And those things are tires, drivetrain, and geometry. This bike, the Greville, the Pinarello Greville, has 40C tires. You might be thinking, hey, you know what? I got a Greville. I can rock up to the cyclocross race. No problem. These tires are probably better than what the cyclocross bikes have. They're bigger. They should be better. Bigger is better, right? Maybe. Have to wait till the end to see the results, but I'll say this, while they are bigger and they do have a bigger contact patch and typically they get better tread and they'll be a little bit softer ride, they are harder to get up to speed. So every time you go through one of these tight turns and you're dodging in and out, that can add 1 second, half second every single turn, and if there's 30 turns, you know the math. This bike, the Orbea Terra, had the 35 Contis, as did the Canyon. These tires get up to speed a little bit faster traditionally, and so that's why on cyclocross bikes, you usually have a little bit narrower tire. Now we're going to talk about drivetrains. 1x or 2x? That's always the question. And the truth is that it comes down to personal preference. I've won and lost on both systems, and I've enjoyed them both the same. They have differences though. One of the big things about a 1x system is that I would say it's a little less versatile. So meaning if you're on the cross bike, it's good, because it allows you to have a cleaner setup up front. It's got the clutch in the back, and you don't have to worry about any chain suck or anything like that. It's just one ring, it just goes. When you've got a 2x system, you've got a lot more versatility, especially if your bike is gonna double up as a gravel bike. This bike has a 46-33-10-33, meaning it has 1-to-1 gearing, 33-33. So if you're gonna use your bike on gravel, well, then a 33-33 is 1-to-1. That is pretty good gearing. You can go up a 10-minute climb with these big tires with a lot of ease. So can you race cyclocross in a double? Of course you can. And I did for a long time. I can only say there were a handful of races where I really enjoyed having a double, and otherwise I was always in the big ring crushing. So if you need more versatility, go with a 2x. If you're happy just being a full-time cross rider, cross bike, that's all it's doing, 1x is probably your jam. Okay, so I am not a bike geometry expert by any stretch of the imagination, but being a pro for a long time, you end up picking up a couple things and you know what this means and that means. So I'm gonna go through a couple of the measurements that I think are important on these bikes. Okay, so first up is the seat tube angle, and that is important because if you're too steep on a cyclocross bike, you're gonna definitely feel all of the bumps. And if you're too shallow, well, then you're not gonna be in enough control. These bikes all share the same seat tube angle at 72 degrees. Okay, so next up is head tube angle. You can imagine that like this is 90 degrees, 70, 72, this is 70.5, as is the Orbea Terra, and the Canyon though is 72. That's the big difference that I see. It's steeper, it's a little bit sharper, that's where you're gonna get that fast turn. So you come into something, it's a slower turn because you're on a cyclocross course, you have to scrub a lot of speed to make it through the turn. You get through the turn, but the Canyons, because it has that sharper angle, is able to turn a little bit quicker and a little bit more efficiently at that slow speed. Whereas these bikes that are more slacked out, they're longer, they have more, geometry that suits that long gravel riding style. That's where this bike's gonna differ entirely from the Canyon. Okay, so you think that you heard me on the geometry. I know it was very technical, but this is YouTube. You can go back and you can listen to it again. It's free, no problems. So the big takeaway though, these bikes, a little gentler, a little longer, they steer a little nicer, longer rides. Think the gravel bikes, longer rides. This, the Canyon, for speed, cyclocross, boom, 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 steeper, sharper angles, okay? Other key differences in these bikes, bottom bracket heights, very similar. Traditionally, cyclocross bikes have higher bottom brackets so that they don't hit their cranks in the mud or on the off-camber sections, and these gravel bikes typically a tiny bit lower to be able to kind of lengthen things out. Longer wheelbase makes it a little bit more pleasant riding. Okay, then you've got the tires. The tires on this bike, 45s is what the Greville will accept, probably even a little bit bigger. This, I'm not sure if the Canyon would accept bigger tires, so you'd have to factor that into your decision. And the Terra, I would say, is somewhere in the both of them. But Canyon, you can see, has really focused on the back of the bike in mud clearance. That has been their big thing with this bike. You can see it's just a massive space in there, where I don't know that the Greville has as much clearance, but it can fit those bigger tires. So that is the information that I have for you about these bikes and the differences. It's all about what you want and what the bike's gonna do, what you're gonna do with the bike the most. And if you're okay with giving up a little bit here and taking a little bit there, it's up to you. There are differences in these bikes, no question about it. They have different geometries, they have different purposes. But what were the results of the test around the track? You have to know. I also really wanted to know. That's why we timed it. So the Greville came in at 32 seconds around the track. Next was the Orbea Terra at 29 seconds. And then the winner, I know, it's a cyclocross course with a cyclocross bike, the Canyon, came in at 27 seconds. And those reasons for that are all in what I said earlier. The snappier geometry, the short chain stays, all that stuff, the smaller tires, all allow the bike to get up to speed faster. So it's not a surprise that a purebred cyclocross bike does better on a cyclocross course. But would you want to ride that bike for 5 or 6 hours? That's up to you. I've ridden tons of bikes and they all have different geometry and they can all be set up to be really comfortable. But you have to pick what is going to make a difference for you. What are you going to do most with the bike? And that's what we went over here today. So if you liked this video and you want to give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, please do. If you want to check out other great gravel videos, check them out over here. And if you want to click subscribe to GCN, check out right in the center.
Well, there you have it. A little bit of halftime entertainment, courtesy of Jeremy. And also, great to catch up with Anna Kay as well. I'll do my best to try and line up plenty of interviews. And also, what do you want to see at halftime? We have this time in between the elite women and the elite men. Take your suggestions, put them on the comment section. Magnus Backstead and Mike McDonald with you today. We're going to take you through the elite men's race momentarily. We're going to give you a little recap and podiums of the elite women's race. So if you don't want to know the result, you can stick your fingers in your ears, press mute, put your hands over your eyes in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's have a look back at what happened. And what a great result for Yara Castellane from 777. What a season this team are having, crossing the line just ahead of last year's winner and the last week's winner in Bohm, her teammate Alice Maria Azzuffi from Italy, and then it was Celine Del Carmen Alvarado from Corendon Circus, the winner of the opening round in Heaton. She crossed the line to round out that podium. 36 seconds down there, Anna-Marie first, and Laura Verdon shot not far. It was a great race, wasn't it, Maggie?
It definitely was a really, really tough race already from the start. It was super high speed and, yeah, ended up being a hard battle for the win.
It was indeed. Okay, so let's get into the elite men's race. Before we get to today's action, let's give ourselves a little reminder of the Super Prestige series so far. And there you have it. That's the series so far. Clearly, John and Sid were in a mellow mood when they put that little montage together. I'm loving that mood. I love the mood music on that one. Ellie Isabet, you got to say the man of the season so far.
Yeah, he definitely is. I mean, he's been winning pretty much on a regular basis, more or less every time he's climbed on a bike. So he's the man to beat, I think. And even in today's race, it's a course that really suits him. It's a hard, tough course. Yeah, he's been exceptional. So I think he's the guy to beat. Tournaert's definitely going very well as well, but did race yesterday. Quinten Hermans is another rider who's been very, very strong all year. Also raced yesterday and won. So I guess the question is going to be who's got the legs today.
Yeah, and you saw that was the little moment where Tournaert's got back up to Quinten Hermans and Ellie Isabet at that point. And then, of course, it all came down to that unshipped chain when he got on. And you see the way Isabit rides, constantly the little glances here and there, just back, whether it's on those run-ups, he's constantly looking around. You see he's very, 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 very vigilant in the way he rides.
Yeah, he is. I think he's taken a massive step forward this season in not just his physical performances, but also the overall sort of awareness of the bike racer going on around him and making tactical very good choices. But I think it's also because he's that bit better physically. It allows him to take that time to have a look around and just ride around with a different calm, because he knows he's got a little bit of excess in terms of his ability on the bike, that anything that he kind of misses or does wrong, he can make up for as well. So the fresher you are, the clearer your mind is then, and the better lines you pick and the more time you have to react to things. So it's almost like he's slowing the world around, down that goes on around him. So he's got all that extra time to play with.
Yeah, and we saw there last week Tone Arts just personifying sliding with style, double knee slide there that we saw from Tone Arts to take that victory. But again, we're so used to Tone Arts having that sort of week in, week out, and it was the pressure that went off him last week when he took that win. How much, looking at the women's race that we've had so far today, how much do you think that Berringen course might have dented his legs?
Yeah, I think a reasonable amount. Any rider that comes in fresh to today is going to have an advantage, I believe. But anything can happen when you get into cyclocross, and some riders actually tend to ride better the second day, and when they haven't got that sort of super light feeling in their legs, they're making choices that are a little bit more qualified.
Let's have a look at the start list. So Tone Arts, Michael van Torenhout, Laurent Swake, Quinten Hermans, great form that he is on. Ellie Isabit is here as well. Tom Pidcock had a great day yesterday. Got a Swede in here, another Swede. We had lots of Swedes yesterday. Jonathan Österlund.
Yeah, they seem to be coming down to Belgium on quite a regular basis now, and the cyclocross scene up in Sweden is improving year on year. So it's great to see them on the start line, and so many different nations are starting to take part in these races in the Superprestige and DVVs and all the rest of the races.
Yeah, Antoine Benoist as well. As soon as we get pictures of the start, we're not far away from that. Now, in terms of the standings, I'll give you those. So it's Quinten Hermans that's leading overall in the general classification. He has 28 points. Corne van Kessel is second with 25. Lars van der Haar is fourth with 23. Arts fourth with 22. It's all about consistency, remember, throughout the series. Dan Suitor there just rounding out the top 10 there with 10 points. In terms of the under-23 classification, Tom Pidcock is leading in that classification with 16 points ahead of Ben Turner. So they kind of combine the two classifications together. Looking again, the overhead shot here of the start line. Corne van Kessel, Tone Arts here. Tom Pidcock, second row today. Do you think that'll be a difference for him?
Well, it could do, but we saw him having a front row start yesterday. Didn't quite get his feet in quickly enough. It had a bit of a mishap in the start, but rode his way into the bike race. And Tom has really improved in that sense as well. He doesn't panic. He doesn't try and make up for the mistake in the space of a quarter of a lap anymore. He's allowing it to sort of it's a long race. It's an hour an hour plus of racing. I've got time. Just try and do it in a good way, in a safe way to get myself back into the race again. And also, I think if you go too hard to try and make up for the mistake, you end up putting yourself in red. So by the time you get on there, you're suffering in the wheels then. And if they put the hammer down, then you tend to be on the receiving end of it.
But just like Matthew Van Der Poel and Wout van Aert, Ellie Isabit, Tom Pidcock, they're a bit like Joker and Batman themselves, aren't they?
Yeah, they definitely are. It's I think one of the open first rounds of the season now, where could see that battle between Pidcock and Isabit, and we saw that at the World Championships last year. It's been going quite a few years back now, all the way down to the first year under 23, and I think Tom is definitely going to want to get one up on Isabit as soon as he possibly can. So this could be a good battle, but you know, there's so many riders here today that we need to really keep an eye on. And for me, so far this season, Quinten Hermans has been the man that's been the, you know, apart from he's been the most sort of consistent, and he's been there to challenge Ease a bit on occasion as well. But I'm also looking forward to seeing what the Dutch rider Joris Nieuwenhuis can do. Is one of those riders. I like how he rides his bike, but it's just, don't know what it is, but it's he's yeah, very, very talented rider.
Yeah, you can see as well Cameron Mason for Trinity Racing a little bit further down. He's been messaging us a little bit as well earlier on. If you weren't with us and you want your Cameron Mason update from the course, if you weren't with us a little bit earlier on, excuse me if I repeat myself, you can just see him in the pink and blue colours there for Trinity Racing. But it's quite interesting. So conditions dry for Gavere, the whole course rideable if you have the skills. Most riders are on Griffo intermediates. Tom and him are running 1.17, 1.19 bar in their tyres. I'm always careful of that because my brother Anthony, who does some other places, he loves his tyre pressures, does he? Bless him, my brother. The main climb is the most important part of the course, but being smooth, linking sections together, the key. And he said after yesterday, it feels flat today.
Yeah, I guess it feels flat, but it's interesting that whole conundrum about tyre pressures and tread patterns, really, because it's so individual. You can't really say that, okay, I'm going to ride that because someone else is riding that. It's something that you have to learn, and based on your weight, based on your riding style, based on the rims that you're riding, and also the tread pattern that you're riding. So everyone out here are different, and for some reason the Belgian riders tend to ride one tread pattern lower than what the actual conditions are supposed to be, and they just run a lot less pressure in their tyres.
So getting a little close up here. Quinten Hermans, Michael Van Turenhout alongside him, Tom Pidcock just behind him, Tim Mallet not far away from the front. Laurent Swick, which is there, you know, as well, we're still waiting for the final start list for the elite men's race. It comes out kind of a bit later. Oh, we've got it now. That's brilliant. Thank you for that. So again, we know, we generally rely, because we pretty much know everyone by sight, but it is all nice to see. We're crouched ready for the start here. So getting ready for the off. Red lights will go to green, and away we go. Yanni Vermeersch. Good start, just rider there, just suffering a little bit off the start line in terms of trying to get the foot in. It's again, Maggie, from the women's race, it's very quick here.
Yeah, it definitely is, and really an important one. And just seen Pidcock has had a shocker of a start right near the back there. Not good at all for him, but yeah, it's so important to make this start, make it quick.
It is indeed. Looked like it had an issue off the start line there. There's Joris Nieuwenhuis there, just number 14, just moving up. Thomas Main from Tartaletto is also just trying to get up there. You can see Marcel Meissen starting to come through towards front. Telenet Baloise Lions packing the front here. Telenet Baloise Lions. Tonarts you can see there. So a little bit further back. So is Isabit.
Yeah, good start for Lars van der Haar, taking the whole shot, and again, like I said, Telenet Baloise with so many riders on the start line, and they are really quick in the starts this year. It seems like they've been practicing that an awful lot over the summer.
Lars van der Haar had a win the other night, didn't he, as well? He's had a win this week, as has Lars van der Haar, which is good. You need again. Get those consistency, get those victories where you can.
Yeah, definitely, and I'm just waiting for Lars to come through a little bit more in terms of the endurance of the cyclocross. He's always so fast off the start and the opening lap or two, and then it seems to be fading away a little bit, and I'm just waiting for him to come back into some form of old where he's lasting the whole race with the best riders because he's so talented.
It had the whole sort of dynamic of it has changed, though, hasn't it, over the last few years in terms of the sort of rhythm of the race. Usually we used to have a blisteringly fast start, then it would kind of settle down in the middle and then build up. We just don't have that anymore, do we?
No, because all of the riders are getting so much better and so much fitter and stronger that there is no let up at any point in the cyclocross, and that's why the starts are becoming so important as well, that you don't have to be chasing back onto to a front group, or you don't have to close down any gaps really, as we see Toonarts and Ellie beat coming through there now in the Belgian national champs jersey, where he's a bit number 9. Jonas Nieuwenhuis, number 14 there.
Tim Malier there, Ben Turner, 43, good start there for Ben Turner, wearing 43. Timo Kielich a little bit further back from them. Lars van der Hart leading out here, Lars van der Hart. And just to give you a little update, the history of this race, so going back a few years, so Niels Albert won it in 2009, Sven Nys, Ken Pauser 2011, Sven Nys twice, 2012, 2013, Klaas van Tornhout 2014. Then we started to get into the Van Aert, Van der Poel era, 2015, Wout van Aert, then it went back to Van der Poel, 2016, 2017 was Wout van Aert, then Mathieu van der Poel last year. He took it from Toonarts and Wout van Aert last year. Toon managed to stay with Van der Poel for quite a while last year.
Yeah, he did. It was not something that we kind of used to be seen there. As Pidcock is making his way forward here, it's having to really step on it in the opening lap to close down the gap and make up for the mistake or what happened there at the start.
Marcel Meissen there's Cameron Mason just going through, and they're just going all the way back down. It's great. I love the director showing us the rest of the bunch. Normally we don't get to see it.
No,
Normally
they just
focus on the front rider most of the time, so it's great to see him getting in there. So there's Neuvenhuis as well. So again, there a lot of people hoping to get a close-up of that Cervelo cross bike that he's got, but it's Van der Haar and Van Tornhout, Cornevan, Kessel goes through next. Sweet, just get on there. So Toonarts just finds his way through. Isabit just using Arts to come up towards the front.
Gianni Vermeersch following through there as well. Then as soon as Toonarts and Ellie were making their move, Vermeersch decided that this is the move I need to go with.
Hermans moves up as well, going into the pits. So Neuvenhuis here, just into the pits for his first change. That's quite a few riders out that little corner there, isn't it?
Yeah, it definitely seems like it. I think they're pushing the boundaries a bit.
So Lars van der Haar leading out with Van Tornhout. Again, this for Lars today, there's no planks. No barriers. There's none of his bogey sections today for Van der Haar.
No, true. Yeah, it's just purely a physical performance today and dealing with the climbing.
Is indeed. So these are the sort of courses where, again, we're waiting next Sunday. So next weekend here on GCN Racing, we have Koppenberg on Friday. We have Rudevorde on Sunday, where we see the return of the big man. So for a lot of these riders, it's about getting a victory in the bag before the return of Mathieu van der Poel into racing after the end of the cross season. He's a bit now just moving up on the outside, up onto the wheel of his teammate.
Michael van Tornhout has also been one of their riders this season. That's always been consistently right near the very front.
Tim Malier is also close to the front. So here comes Pidcock trying to get himself back up there. He's got a lot of work to do. He's going to burn a lot of power to get back up to a front group. Come to the end of the opening lap. Lars van der Haar leads the group through 6 minutes and 12. So Van Tornhout, Isabit, Suitor, Van Kessel, Hermans, Arts, Vermeersch, Sweek, Malier, Neuvenhuis goes through next. Then Pidcock just trying to pick his way through up towards Klepper and Adams. Sending up Meusen, Ronhaar and Kielich. So Tom Meusen again sitting in 15th at the moment. 21st for Thomas Main. Was up there yesterday, so great ride by Thomas Main from Tartaletto Isarex yesterday.
Just see Pidcock really working hard on that tarmac, just trying to get as close as he can to these guys and see whether he can just latch onto the back of it.
So this leading group, Neuvenhouse gets onto the back of that one. So Isabit through to the front now. He starts to just up the pressure through this sweeping downhill section for Ellie Isabit. Still this front group on this second lap, still very much together. So 6 minutes and 12, good lap time. There's Tone Arts there in that group. So Arts again, remember he's got that ability on riding the section here.
Yeah, this was a running section for the women earlier. They just couldn't quite get the grip to ride up it, and all of the front riders are riding it.
So Isabit, so Palshausen Bingo after Telenet Balwas Lions led off. It's now Palshausen Bingo, and then there's a fairly sizable gap now as Isabit attacks this climb here. Bit of a gap back from the last rider in this group here, back to the next riders on the course.
Elizabeth just looks like he's got his whole physical shape is just in tune at the moment. With it just looks sharp. Every time he gets out of the saddle, you can see how much power he's generating from both his upper body and his legs.
He is indeed. So Ellie Isabit, what a season he is having so far. Didn't ride the Etias Cross yesterday, just saves those legs. And it's, again, little glance. And it's important for the team managers of Isabit as well, isn't it? To just pick the objectives. If it's the World Cup and the Super Prestige, not over race him. Got to watch those double weekends, haven't you, as a young rider?
Yeah, you definitely do. But I think the way Isabit is riding as well, he does those little digs and puts the pressure on, and then looks back and see what damage did I cause by doing that, and it's sort of constantly working on the equation of when, where and how he can hurt the other riders the most without really putting too much pressure on himself. And yeah, he's doing that in such a great way at the moment.
He is indeed. So this group, again, I think this is what's been so enjoyable so far this season, is just how tight the front groups have still been in these races. We're seeing little attacks. Van Torenhout's he's had a victory. Tone Arts had a victory. Ellie Isabit's had victories. But this sort of leading group here, when we get into these sort of races where they're all together, it's very, very close. It's great to watch.
Yeah, it definitely is, and that's what I think is enjoyable about the racing this season. Whereas, you know, as much as I enjoy watching the master classes of Mathieu van der Poel and Wout van Aert, racing is far more enjoyable when there's a big group of guys battling it out for the win, and it's not a done deal straight away anyway.
Just a little question over on the forum from Antonio Casamassa. Is there any Italians in this race? On the start list, we've got Jacob Doragoni. He's wearing 44. Is Jacob Doragoni. Watch out for him. Suitor now puts in a dig. Tone Arts moves through towards the front. You can see Palshausen, Bingo just looking at each other. Neuvenhouse, Pidcock, if you weren't with us at the start, Tom Pidcock had a problem straight off the start line, but using this climb just to try and get back on here, he'll just be hoping that he can just get a little bit of a lull at the front here to try and get on.
Yeah, he'll definitely be hoping for that, but is that going to happen? I don't think so. It seems like the Palshausen Bingo riders are really on a mission here to try and break the Telenet Baloise riders, and with that, attacking again and again and again.
So there's the group now. Pidcock starts to attack to come back. Great race again. It was a real drama fest that we had yesterday in the Etias Cross. It's a little slow-mo here. I love this little slow-mo of the downhill, the close-ups that we get. Ellie is a bit on this descent. His teammate right on his wheel, and the Palshausen Bingo team. There's Lars van der Haar going through. Tone Arts, Jannie Vermeersch, Connie van Kessel, just getting the big inflatable barriers that you've got here. Quite a few of you. It's a bit like a bouncy castle a lot of the time through these sections.
It is, and they're needed as well because of what's on the other side of them. But and obviously they're committing 100%. It's, you know, full send down the descents, and with that, yeah, it's good that we got them inflatable little cushions.
Indeed. Just over on the forum, Peter Panos asking, where's Tom Last? Yeah, Last, he's still part of the GCN crew. He jumps in on commentary from time to time. Tommy Ellis asking about Vanderpool. David Vanderpool is in the race. Matthew makes his return next week. The leading group into the home straight here. So Dan Suitor is leading through here. So we go through after that second lap, 12:14. So pretty much lapping at the same time. The first lap was 6:12, so 2 seconds back there, Sweek. Earlier, Neuvenhaus, Vermeersch, 10 seconds back from the front of the race. And then that group, Tom Meusen comes through, Klepper and Adams are the riders that are with them. So just got to try and use these riders in between just to try and springboard across. You were talking a little bit before, we were chatting about Tom Meusen as well. He was saying, you know, he's having great starts, but just doesn't seem to be able to have that endurance, that consistency to stay the course now. Do you think, again, that might be a little bit of the lacking from what they're doing in the summer, in the road season?
Well, it might very well be. I know Tom doesn't have as big a road program as some of the other riders on the Corendon Circus team, and I don't know whether that's what's missing or what is actually going on, because he was so consistent and such a prolific performer for a number of years, and in the last few years he's always been there right at the very start, and just having such good, you know, first lap and a half kind of rides, and then he seems to drift away towards the back. Today hasn't been that case. He's not been quite as good in the start as we're used to seeing him be, but yeah, just something is missing.
Suitor looking good today. Dan Suitor here on the front. Arts is the rider that's behind him. East of it, and then we've got starting to get a little bit of a gap here back to Van Kessel, Sweek, Neuvenhaus, but Suitor really attacking this course here. It's very, very quick, lightning quick, you would say, from this one. Lap 3 of 10. There you see Thomas Main there at 39 seconds. David Vanderpool down there in 21st, also at 39 seconds. Just a little question. Good question here from Aaron, because we're getting a few slow-mos of the riders up. Do cross riders have to work on that upper body strength more than road riders?
They do have to work slightly more on the upper body, but even the road riders tend to actually do quite a bit of upper body work to make sure they can counter all the power that they put into the bike and control it. Obviously, cyclocross is a lot more of a physical sport. It's a lot more sprinting, you know, big accelerations out of tight turns all the time. So these guys tend to be built a bit more like sprinters really than the sort of a climber type of rider. So yeah, they do work a lot on core strength and stability and a bit of upper body strength as well.
You don't want guns of steel though, do you?
Not quite.
Still don't want them as much as you'd like them. Dropping in there, so this group. And then the little testing attacks at the front, so just changing backwards and forwards. So there's your top two, so along the bottom there. So Suitor, Arts, Van Toren out, and Isabit, Van Kessel, Neuvenhaus, Hermans, Malier is 9th, Lars Van der Harntet. There's a close-up there of Dan Suitor. Quentin Hermans as well. The ride that he had to do yesterday in Beringen to hold off the charge from Tone Arts and Tom Pidcock. His legs, he must be in bits today.
Well, I definitely think he'd be feeling that, because it was a tough old race yesterday, and yeah, having Tone Arts and Pidcock chasing him, yeah, he will have invested a lot of energy into that, as will Tom Pidcock have done, with mechanicals and the crashes and everything that he had, and you know, he pushed himself hard. So. There's definitely a few of the fresher riders, but then again, the man up the top of your picture there now in the black, yellow and red jersey, he was up there as well. Tone Arts, this is one of his favourite courses, though. The harder it gets, the more difficult the courses are, the better it tends to go.
There's the gap back from Sweek back to the next group on this long climb here. You can see it really not too muddy today when we have in Havre in past years, when this can become so tough, this climb, when it's really muddy.
Yeah, it definitely is, and we're seeing usually a lot sort of longer lap times than what we've had had today, just because of that. It's so difficult when you get that loose mud that we tend to have in Gavere. It's so difficult to even get any traction to move your bike forward up this climb.
It is indeed. Look at that. He's a bit just tucked in on the wheel now of Tone Arts. Well, close
Sean
up
Kelly
there. The legend, the man, the legend, Sean Kelly there. He's in the pits, probably with Kurt Bogarts, I imagine.
I would have thought so, definitely.
Of course, Kurt Bogarts, who manages the Trinity team. He's still on the on-post Sean Kelly Academy team. Great aerial shot that we have here on our cable cam. He's a bit again side to side, the little the way he rides. Now he goes through, starts to make a move. Michael Van Torenhout answers that one. Again, just skips from side to side along this section.
Yeah, just had a quick look around to see, make sure that doesn't get any more Telenet Baloise riders coming back into it, and just put a bit of pressure on there. But Van Torenhout now blocking Tornouts a bit, and Tornouts is going to have to pick up the chase to get straight after Isabit. You can't leave Isabit get any kind of 3, 4, 5 seconds, because then he's gone.
He is indeed, and you just saw Michael Van Torenhout look at Ellie a bit now, starting to accelerate through the line. So lap 3 goes through there. So 18:10 is the time, 7 laps to go, and 1 second back to Arts and Van Torenhout. Then Suitor at 10, Van Kessel, Sweek. Then you go back down from Laurent Sweek back to that chasing group. Looks like the wind's kind of going out of the sails of that chasing group a little bit. They're starting to look around at each other. Van der Haar, though, attacks.
Well, I think it's coming down to who's going to do the chasing and the riding, because everyone's got riders up in the front, so both Balsels and Bingos and the Telenet Baloise rider team have got riders up here. I would have said that for Telenet this isn't the ideal situation. Yes, Tornarts is one of their strongest riders, but having 2 against 1 is never a good thing, whether it's in cyclocross or road racing. You need numbers up there. But down the back, you also got riders then in that group, that chasing group, like Tom Pidcock, who's on his own in that group, and there's a few other riders from different teams who don't have someone up near the front. So for them to start chasing and start doing too much work, then all of a sudden, if they were to get back in, and it looked like Tornas just lost the traction there a bit. But anyway, if they were to get back into the race, then all of a sudden what have they got left to race with?
So Mallet, Hermans, Neuvenhouse are your top 10 there, just rounding out. So Tom Pidcock just outside the top 10 here. Stuart Struley just starting, loving the courage. Thanks for tuning in. Lowe's not versed in the Euro schedule. Is this traditionally one of the faster courses? It almost seems like an old one. It's not, is it?
No.
Generally?
This is probably one of the fastest years I've witnessed. It is usually as you can see by how the course is looking in dry conditions. Imagine when it is wet, it is virtually impossible to keep the bike upright. It's such a slippery course, technically very, very challenging. And if you want to have a look at what it looks like when it's really bad, go back to last year.
Yeah, look at that. Ellie is a bit attacking. Tone Arts answers him. We're loving the 2 battles between these 2 this year. Michael Van Torenhout already had a little bit of a tumble. There's Ben Tullett, you can see there in 29th at 2:43. Just going down one side, then the other. He's a bit. So he didn't race yesterday. This man, what a great race he put in last week though in Bern to take that one. And just use the sections as you would. Use the sections of the course that suited him nicely. There's Ostlund, the Swede, in 37th at the moment, and Ben Turner not finishing today. It was good to see, as we said, good to see the Swedes getting in. We had with some Norwegians yesterday as well. It was good.
Well, it's nice to see that the cyclocross is spreading itself around the world. He's a bit putting that massive attacking over that steep little section, but Tonart's definitely got the legs to respond today.
He has indeed. Corny van Kessel, Dan Suitor and Laurent Sweet, and Lars van der Haar with Tim Malier, and Quentin Hermans and Tom Pidcock. That is your next group. So that's the time gaps at the moment between those sections. I think this group can come back here.
Well, it's interesting that we're not even halfway through the bike race yet, and you know, these guys have been teeing off at each other for some time now, and it seems like, you know, Easy Bit is having an attack, and then Tournards is counter-attacking on that, and they're gloves are definitely off again with these three riders at the front, and Michael van Toornhout, as usual, being one of the guys that are just always so reliable.
Again, Art's just doing looking at the way. Would you say, looking at the way these races have gone so far, the way Van Toornhout and Isabit have ridden, Tournards is doing exactly the right thing here. Just every time he can, just bossing it back through to the front, just not letting these two just find any kind of rhythm and dictate to him. Because we're used to seeing Tone just kind of make that late race burn, aren't we? But he's doing the right thing. He's just batting the race right back to them.
Yeah, definitely. And if Ellie's a bit is putting a dig in, if he's got the legs to counter-attack, he knows he's going to hurt Ease a bit somewhat. And as you said, we know that how strong a final lap Tournards can put in. If he can soften up Ellie's a little bit before we even get to that point, then it will be an interesting final.
It certainly will. Michael van Toornhout just losing a few meters, just finds his way onto the back of this group, this cable cam. And it was Zimanus over on Twitter asking if it's a drone or a cable cam. If you weren't with us yesterday, yeah, it's a cable cam. They use it. It's one of the best shots as Ellie Isabit now attacks down the right-hand side of that section.
Tournards didn't seem like he had the legs to go with him. Then he's opened up a big gap straight away. Now he's trying to respond.
Now he's got to line up for these corners because we're going back onto the road here, and again surface change from the dirt onto the road. Arts has got to use that power out of the corner, but Ellie Isabit here on lap 4 has a glance back over the shoulder just to see what sort of damage that attack has done. There's your next group.
Keogh on his way up to the next group now. He's moved away from the riders that he was with on the previous lap, and he's now coming on here.
2 seconds back to Arts and Van Toornhout.
Actually,
Van der Haar on the front.
Van der Haar has made his way. He's dropped Tom Pidcock.
So Van Kessel is on the wheel. Arts again on these descents, just trying to get back up to Ellie Isabit. That couple of second gap, 6 laps to go. This time, 24:13 was that time through the lines. The opening lap was 6 minutes and 12 seconds. Isabit controlling that slide through that. Oh, Arts goes down again, and Isabit responds straight away. Instinctive response from the Pal 1000 bingo rider.
As soon as he heard that crash, looked over and saw that he was Tournards had gone down.
So that last lap, 6 minutes and 3 was that last lap. So 5 laps to go, so 5 of 10. So 25 seconds that gap. Malier is still there within that top 10. Adams now just dropping outside of it. Tournards, that little crash. Let's have another look at it. Goes in there, just loses the front wheel, slides out there, and again, lap after lap, it just starts to get slipperier and slipperier as the amount of riders go through here.
Yeah, definitely, and the lines change from lap to lap as well, as we got this whole field going through time after time, and yeah, it's so easy to do, just get a bit too much front end brake on the bike when you're going into the corner.
Isabit though, now building that advantage. He attacked in towards the line. That crash of Tournards, you saw him respond straight away. Now Van Toornhout can just sit back on the wheel of Tournards. Telenet Lions rider, the Belgian champion, onto that descent up this climb here. Real power climb of this one. Look at the head of Tonarts going here as he battles to try and get back up to the leader. As he said moments ago, it's, you know, with Isabit goes, you know, you can't give him anything here.
No, you definitely can't. But when you got a rider who's so in control of the situation all the time, there's not much you can do. So Ellie is a bit putting Tonarts under pressure, I think, and they're forcing that mistake to happen. And now Tonarts finds himself on the back foot, having to try and chase Ellie a bit down, which isn't a simple task at all.
Not at all. Bob Ferguson over on the YouTube pub. GCN curse working overtime. Marty says controlling the corners, bang, he's gone. I did that to Katie Compton yesterday, didn't I, the GCN curse? I could sit in the corner and put on a bit of mellow jazz if you want. It's just, do try. Isabit, the gap now. Back there, here comes the chase behind. Van der Haar is just gradually again grinding his way back up towards the front. These gaps, you look at this section, they're still fairly close. They're still, they're almost jumpable here.
Well, Lars van der Haar seems to be finding his legs a bit again, and is sort of working his way back into the race. And if he can get back onto to start giving Tonarts a bit of a hand and with the pacemaking, that would be great for Telenet Balois Lions.
JB Hancock, shout out to Tyler Cloutier from the US, out on the course right now. Yes, he is. Again, we, as we say, we always we only see what you see, and we generally get those positions later on for some of the riders that get their positions. Isabit, and again, 7 seconds now back to the chasers. Keith McRae, bingo, playing the team game today, same as 777 did in the women's race. We touched on it pre-show on before the elite women's race. We're seeing it more and more.
Yeah, we are definitely, and I think we've got two super strong teams near the front here now, and I mean the whole front sort of 5, 6, 7 places are occupied by pretty much the same riders and or the same teams, and they're just having a go at each other all the time, which is it's really interesting to see, and it's a new sort of take on cyclocross. Really, we haven't seen sort of team tactics being played out before, but it's definitely starting to happen.
Yeah, Elias Nielsen here, another Swede, just in that group. Gary Fisher watching from a casino in Las Vegas. Thanks for tuning in. Let me know if that's as Bob Ferguson said. If you're the Gary Fisher, that would be nice to know as well. Dave Kennedy checking in from Nashville as well. Thanks all of you for getting on board. Thanks for your questions. This section here where Ellie Isabit attacked on the previous lap, Tonarts managed to close that gap down, then going down on that slippy section, going into that hot dog turn. And again, it's a great shot here, this cable cam showing as a cross rider when the ground is just rising and falling there, how you control it getting in and out of the saddle.
Yeah, they're almost riding after the saddle, or trying to sort of just have some form of very light contact with the saddle on across those bumps. And anytime you see, but this is an even better shot, I think, of how they're controlling it. They're just constantly.
It's almost like a power squat, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. You're trying to sit down as much as possible because it saves your legs somewhat, but at the same time, you have to get out of the saddle to allow for those big bumps, otherwise you'd just be thrown all over the place. Tom Pidcock is having to work really, really, really hard here to maintain contact with the front guys, but it's not all lost, definitely. He's, if anything, improving on his positions.
Van der Haar goes through there, so that's your gap. So 24 seconds. You see Arts there now with that group.
Well, I think Tom realised that Lars van der Haar was coming behind and sat up and waited for them, and that's obviously allowed him to have a teammate, someone to help, but it also brought Loudon Svig back into the game as well. So, you know, dangerous tactics can be. You can opt for trying to get a teammate back in and to help you, but at the same time, if that doesn't go right, then all of a sudden you lost the whole podium.
So this group, you just see Neuvenhaus just outside there, 13th, Meusen in 14th, Meissen in 15th for our German viewers, just keeping track of some of your nations. Norris Neuvenhaus, popular rider, a minute down for the Team Sunweb man. He's a bit attacking this one. What a season this man is having. Really targeted the World Cup. We didn't have him in Bohm. He chose to go to Bern instead. And he's 9th in the general classification at the moment. But if he can, again, if he can sit one out, as he did last week, and then come back into it in the way that he is, it's not out of the realms of reality. We always say with these sort of series, 8 rounds, you've got to be super consistent, just picking up points each week.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he, as you said, he won the opening round and then scored nothing, but he's still in ninth place on the classification. So, yeah, if he keeps on plugging away in like this, and I think as the season goes along as well, he will do more and more double weekend. So it's a way of saving yourself. It's a way of allowing yourself another day of training and not having to rest up. Because one of the biggest issues for cyclocross riders is that they basically end up detraining themselves through a period of racing, because the races are only an hour long. That's not really enough time on the bike. And if you remember last year, we were hearing reports of Matthew van der Poel motor pacing back home from a cyclocross race, you know, doing some big hours on the bike. And we hear it pretty much every season. There's at least on one, if not 2 occasions, that some of the riders are taking themselves off down to Mallorca or one of the other islands to get some warm weather training done in the middle of the cross season for a week or 10 days, and then get back into racing again ahead of a big block of important cyclocrosses. And this is so key for this particular sport. So yeah, with Isabit not only doing one race, it allows him to maybe train for 4 or 5 days and then have a bit of an easier day the day ahead of one of the cycles.
This chasing group very much now swelling in numbers on this one. Lap 6 of 10 that you can see here. So Lars van der Haar again looking good at the front here. Good power today from Lars van der Haar. A bit of a shout out over on the forum to Grace Smith that finished her 3rd ever cyclocross this morning. Only fell twice. So much respect for how hard this is. Rody, new to a whole new world in Northern Ireland. Welcome to the revolution, Grace. It'll change your life. So well done getting out there. Ellie Isabit, our leader. This chasing group, now they have to try and get this organised here. Telenet Balois lines. Again, this is where the team tactic could come into play here. They're working together to try and pull this one back and get it back under control. But you've got Swake and Torenhout in here to just kind of interfere with it.
Yeah, definitely, and I think Lars van der Haar is going really strongly at the moment, almost to the point where he's making it difficult for his team leader Tornaerts to follow. But if van der Haar is on such a good day, then he needs to keep the pressure on, make everyone in his wheel hurt, and see what's what. But see here, Lars van der Haar riding away from the rest of the guys. Even Van Torenhout and Loud and Sweek are struggling to follow that. So Lars van der Haar with good legs on. And these kind of courses are really the ones that tends to suit Lars van der Haar. Remember the World Cup cyclocrosses in Valkenburg, where there's so much climbing to be done, and he's always gone really well there. So Tornaerts comes in for a fresh, clean bike.
Does indeed, and as we said, there's no planks, no barriers today for Lars van der Haar to have to bunny hop. So again, these fast courses, as Magnus said, really suit him. Great slow-mos here as Ellie Isabit, your leader, just tackles these descents. Lars van der Haar, of course, former world under-23 double champion. He was really the sort of first of this generation to move up from under 23 in the days of Sven Nys and Niels Albert and those sort of riders. So great to see him up there. He won Nacht van Voorden in the week as well. Ellie Isabit, though, on to this home straight again, lapping so fast today are the riders in this one. We had a blisteringly quick elite women's race earlier on, but Isabit crosses the line this time. So 36.11, so 4 to go for Isabit. Can they get him back under control?
Linus Week has managed to get himself back onto the wheel of Lars van der Haar. Lars van der Haar looks around to ask for a bit of help from Swig, but he basically just, no man, I haven't got the legs to take one just now. I've been chasing you for the last 500-600 meters up that climb.
So they go through at 31.
Here goes Pidcock again now on the charge. You can smell that podium, I think.
Tom Pidcock now attacks through the line. They are at 41 seconds. So can that group get back on? Looking at this one, it's going to be a tall order to try and pull Ellie a bit back. Look, even with 4 laps of this one remaining.
Yeah, definitely. He seems to be in a league of his own at the moment. Although Van der Haar is clearly on a very good day, it's too much work left to do.
Again, it's just out in this position, just time trial your weight around this course now. Very much in control. This is a similar ride to we saw in Bern as well. These again, just Helen Wyman touched it right back in the beginning of the season. He just has taken such a leap across the course of this summer.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he's clearly done something right this summer, and the training has gone well for him, and he's coming into this cross season a completely different rider. But then he's also a year older. He's matured a bit more, and these things tend to happen. He's one of those young guys that's been a young, promising rider for a few years now, and it's finally starting to happen for him. But look at this, Tom Pidcock. Still got legs even after yesterday's hard race in Beringen.
Again, he just bides. He's biding his time again. As you said earlier on the start line, not panicking. He's got to get again. It's just consistency is the key. Didn't get a great start. He was sort of 3/4 of the way, if not more, down the peloton off the start line.
Well, I think the key thing to take away from the last couple of races that we've seen, Tom, is the fact that he's got the legs, he's got the physical condition to be riding with the best guys up there. It just seems to be making a few mistakes early on, a few starting mistakes, and a couple of little things that isn't quite going right for him. One of these days he'll string them all together and get a completely clean race without any issues, and when he does, he will take that first win in one of these big cross races, and I don't think it's too far away really. It's just finding that, getting the timing, getting the start right, getting right in there, and having the patience on sort of allowing the not chasing too hard in the beginning, and I'm not talking chasing the riders in front of you, but actually almost allowing that 2 meters of gap to just give yourself a little bit of breathing space, some reaction time, maybe not pushing too hard through every turn just because you can, but actually just if I lose a meter or two, I'm better off doing that, but I'm staying rubber side down at the beginning of it, and then when you're going for those big moves, that's when you take the risks, and that's when you make the difference.
Looking at this man here, Joe Newton's commenting it on the YouTube forum. Isabit versus Mathieu van der Poel next weekend. That's a tasty prospect.
Yeah, definitely could be, and I really do hope that that's the case, because what a battle that will be, and I think it would be a nice little wake up for Mathieu van der Poel as well, coming back into cross relatively late. But also, I think Mathieu van der Poel would cherish that challenge, because I don't think it's fun for him to ride around like he did last year, winning every single cross that he basically started, bar 2, one where he had an off day and one where we thought he'd broken his ankle. But it's not good for Mathieu van der Poel, because he doesn't improve himself. He doesn't get better physically, technically, or anything. He doesn't get challenged, and he just basically rides around like it's a training ride. So having someone who's capable of challenging him, I think will be fantastic.
I think it was like last year when in Hulst when Tom Pidcock was with him, he was looking back.
Yeah,
you're like big bear, little bear, almost like come on, keep up, pal. It was you could see that he was relishing.
He's enjoying it, yeah, and go back a season further when we had Wout van Aert versus Van der Poel, when they were really battling it out, and we were fighting to get into corners first, and and fighting to hit the sand stretches first, and all these things going on, and you were just waiting for the moment when is one of them going to attack the other one, and it was just every single time both of them got to the finish line completely spent, and I think both riders, as much as they are arch rivals and has been since they were very, very young, and I'm not sure they get on particularly well off the bike, but you know, I think they were both enjoying that because they were racing each other, and they were really having to push themselves.
It was great to watch.
If Easybit can challenge Matthew van der Poel, I think every single one of you out there will enjoy it, and I definitely will be as well.
Yeah, so Ellie Easybit goes through 42.08 for Easybit, Lars van der Haar. They're going round that little section there. 3 laps to go this time. Ellie Easybit back to Van der Haar, Pidcock and Swake. Those are your next riders on the road, so they'll just come off the grass onto this home straight here. We'll just get the time gap as they go through. It was last lap 31 seconds back to this group. Pidcock comes through to help Van der Haar. Van der Haar just latches on to the wheel of the British champion, the Trinity Racing rider. Swake's looking very cool at the back, isn't he?
While he's getting an armchair ride, really is, you know, if he's got good legs, which he clearly has been able to follow these guys, is looking very good at this moment in time for a first second for Paul Sausen-Bingo.
You wouldn't bet against him in a sprint, would you?
No, he's reasonably quick, but so is Pidcock when it comes down to a podium finish or being off the podium. He's usually very, very sharp, and has got that ability to just switch on a different energy source and you know, go for that sprint.
Tone Arts has faded quite a lot today, hasn't he?
Yeah,
a minute.
He has massively. And I think he took a lot out of him yesterday, because although he was allowing Quinten Admans to ride away and then basically managing Pidcock behind him, he also did put a pretty hard lap and a half, 2 laps in at the end to go clear of Pidcock, and I think he's feeling that today.
Question again, Aaron posting a question. You're out and about with Zoe at a lot of these these races. Do you see mechanical gearing much anymore at the pro level, or is it everyone now on electronic?
Pro level, most of the guys are on electronic. Some of the younger categories, there's still quite a lot of mechanical going on. I know we run mechanical on Zoe's bike just purely for simplicity, and obviously when you're jet washing bikes on a regular basis, if you haven't got an unlimited supply of DI2 or ETAP rear mechs, then it's easier for things to go wrong, and it tends to be just a little bit cheaper to back up and put a new cable in if it gets a bit grabby and so on. But these guys are definitely all on electronics.
Yeah, so just Tom Pidcock attacking here, Lars van der Haar, Swake just off the back of the group, so we'll try and get some more runs along the bottom there. Thomas Main, I haven't seen, as few of you asking where Joe Williams is, I haven't seen Joe Williams' number pop up at the bottom from Astra Flanders team as well. They're a team that's been around for quite a while. It's Cameron Mason there in 22nd. A few of you asking where Cameron is, so just outside the top 20 for Cameron. Just getting the ticker along the bottom. A few of you asking about riders getting retired. Do they run the 80% rule here? Latched riders get pulled down.
Yeah, definitely. 80% behind the leader, and you're out.
Just got a little slow-mo, first little dab there for Ellie Easybit. So again, it's these races are coming down as well sometimes, aren't they? So it's sort of real little fractions of a mistake. The riders that are winning these races, we see it with Anna-Marie Verst and Ellie Easybit that are taking lots and lots of victories. You've got to be it's got to be an almost faultless ride. You've got to have a horseshoe, a lucky shamrock in your pocket or whatever, in everything. The luck's just got to hold for you, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. But when you got a bit of time to play on, like Ellie Easybit has here, then of course you can afford a small mistake. You can't afford any big ones. And even now, if he has to slide out like we saw yesterday, a couple of bent rear mechs and and some other sort of minor mechanical issues, then Isabit's lead isn't going to last him all that long then, and these guys will be back upon him. So it's you still need to be very, very consistent with making sure that you're hitting the lines, making sure that you're staying safe around the corners, but still doing them fast, obviously.
Pidcock, Van der Haar, Swake working hard under this attack. So 38 seconds is the gap back to your chasing group. Lap 8 of 10. Alan Brown just asking, not a stupid question, there are no stupid questions. Lots of people out there, remember, probably thinking the same thing. Why on a fast course like this are the riders not using their drops?
Well, very rarely does a cyclocross rider actually ride in the drops. They got more control of the bike on the brake levers. The bike is it's more nimble. It's easier to steer the bike when you're on the brake levers. It's most often that we see them going down into the drops of the handlebar. It's on a very, very steep descent when they need to get the weight so far back over the bike that it's physically not really possible to hold on to the brake levers anymore.
Pidcock swings off. There you go. Thanks for your question. Van der Haar comes. Sorry, I'm just reading a question. I'm chuckling as I was reading because we were chatting about it before. Ellie Isabit comes out of that corner now and attacks this back up towards the finish. Be 2 to go this time.
Just looked at it. Pidcock was slowing down, trying to force Van der Haar to come around him to start working again. And I think Thomas realised that Isabit is out of the catchment area, and with that, it's a question of riding for second place, which would still be a very good result, obviously. So I think Thomas now switched his thought process here. Let's not try and catch Isabit. Let's just try and get second.
Yeah, so this is your chasing group. And you got a bit of a long shot back to the next group again. What you've got to be mindful of that group, the whole clutch of Telenet Bauer's riders as Isabit just hangs that left foot out for a bit of balance. It's Quinten Hermans, Michael Van Toornaerts, and Corny van Kessel, it looks like. Van der Haar's looking around at Pidcock here as the other riders just go down that grass section along the left. What we've seen the last couple of days, though, again, two very, very contrasting cross courses, which is great for anyone that's out there that might be organising races or thinking of organising races or looking for somewhere to put one on. You just make the most of what you've got.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, yesterday was more of a lot of the riders classed as a mountain bike course, but still it just proved to be a very, very good, very entertaining cyclocross race as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, I'm sure the riders who were actually racing it weren't quite as keen on it, but yeah, it was definitely nice to see a different type of race, and this one again completely different to what we will have on Friday in Koppenberg, where we got the cobble climb that they use in Tour of Flanders, going up there on not the whole way, I gotta say. They're coming out about sort of just over under halfway up the climb, but it's still a very, very tough climb up to the finish line every time, and it's also a course which proves an awful lot of altitude gain and loss per lap. And then we're on to a farmer's field in Ruddervoorde, which is basically the farmers use these diggers to put up a couple of mounds. He's put in a bit of sand, and they use that same field for the cyclocross course every single year. And the course does change from time to time. They tend to run in different directions, but it's still more or less the same course. So again, it's just what you got available to you, and creating the best course you possibly can.
Ellie Isabit on our leading group question. The reason I was chuckling, Chicken Dinner's great name. I hope you win a lot. Just asking, now that Fortnite's gone out of fashion, what will the riders choose? If you're not aware, Mathieu van der Poel, according to Tom Pidcock, is the king of Fortnite, but apparently it's gone now, isn't it? You were telling me earlier.
Yeah, I do wonder what they will do nowadays, but I'm sure they'll come up with something else too.
I'm sure they'll pick something else that they could all play online together. It was great. It was a big subject at Tom's team lodge that Mathieu van der Poel apparently was the king of Fortnite, but there you go. Swake on to the back here. It's his teammate that's at the head of the race. Van der Haar and Pidcock attacking this climb. Great crowds out here. If you're just joining our coverage today, welcome aboard here on GCN Racing. This is round 3 of the Telenet Superprestige series in Gavere. 8 rounds in total is the Superprestige series. Don't forget as well, put in your diaries, we have the DVB trophy, we have the Rectivit series as well, and the Cyclo-cross. Most of our coverage is worldwide, excluding Belgium and the Netherlands. The only series, for your information, that is not available in the US and Canada is the Cyclo-cross series. That's something that's out of our control. But you can watch it live on Facebook or YouTube. Thanks all of you for checking in. Next weekend, just so that you know, Maggie's off with his daughter Zoe to Koppenberg and Ruddervoorde. Nicky Bramier will be with me in commentary next week. So put those in your diaries for Friday. Phone in sick to work. I'll write you a note. Cyclo-cross much more important than going to work on Friday, so make sure you tune in, put your headphones in at work.
It's definitely one of those races you don't want to miss. It usually proves to be very spectacular indeed, and I'm sort of, I know that Zoe's hoping for rain and mud, so let's do the rain dance this week.
Yeah, definitely. It's one of my favourite races of the year. I'm intrigued to see how this man goes in Koppenberg.
Well, he's definitely got the build for it, hasn't he? He's a very small, light man, and he's got the power to weight to go up the Koppenberg. So I don't think that's going to be too big an issue for him. But there are other riders in here as well who are sort of almost Koppenberg sort of specialists, really, and. Good to see. I don't know if Tom is riding, but I hope so. And if he is, judging by current form, he should definitely be one of the guys to be challenging.
And Van der Haar attacks up the climb, gaps a little bit now. Tom Pickett, I was literally about to say I was looking forward to the sprint out of this group. Van der Haar is looking great today, is Lars Van der Haar.
Yeah, definitely got good legs, and it's nice to see because, like we said earlier in commentary, he's been one of those guys that's been starting fast and then fading away a bit, and not too far, to be fair. To him, he's in the top 10 most of the time, but today he's definitely found the Lars Van der Haar of old, and it's great to see him up there because he's one of the guys that I think should be there.
Swake now, is this now the point where that chase from the bad start of Pidcock might start to tell?
Well, I think yesterday's race and the chase in the early part of today's race is starting to leave a few traces in Tom Pidcock's legs, regardless of whether he gets on the podium or whether he ends up just off it. I think he's still done a great ride. Physically, he looks to be in good shape. If he can just string together to get the start right and get himself in the mix right from the off, then he will be lethal up there.
Lars Van der Haar, as Maggie said, the Lars Van der Haar of old. Had a victory, as we said, in Nacht van Voorden. Laurent Swake now trying to come back to Van der Haar. Pidcock is hanging on there, the British champion. The last lap for Ellie Smith, 54.13 rather, as we go through there. Alan Hoffman asking, so barriers are standard not required on a course? No, you don't have to have them. You just make the most of what you've got. Going through here, it was about a minute the last lap. Lars Van der Haar on this road section. Look at the power of the Telenet Bauwaz Lions rider going through here. There's your gap, so 55 seconds back to Van der Haar now. Looking phenomenal in this one is Lars Van der Haar.
Yeah, it definitely is, but Laurent Swake seems to be, he can't quite go with Van der Haar when he takes off, but then he's just dragging himself slowly but surely back onto the wheel. Tom Pidcock looks to have lost a bit of time there now.
Back to your next group, Corny van Kessel looking at Quinten Omens and Tone Arts. They're both saying, mate, I'm cooked from yesterday as well. These two riders worked very hard yesterday, first and second for them yesterday. Corny van Kessel, so Telenet Bauwaz, they're relying on Lars Van der Haar here to pick up that second place on the podium. Isabit just pushing the circuit now to its limits on the corners, maximum slidability. So Van Toren out, Adams just going through your top 10, 1 minute and 39 seconds separating your top 10 here at the moment on the final lap here on the Telenet Superprestige Series. Swake little by little trying to find his way back to Lars Van der Haar, but that attack by Van der Haar has put paid to the podium ambitions. It looks like of Tom Pidcock today. So it's Paushausen Bingo in the lead with Ellie Isabit. Telenet Baloise Lions in second place here. Isabit attacks this climb yet again.
Oh, it's definitely going really well. Just the explosive power he's got on every little kick like that, every little ramp that he's doing is right on top of his game. Such a powerful rider at the moment, Ellie Isabit.
Keith McCraig goes asking, can you really look phenomenal when you're second a minute down? But you've got to look at tactics and the way the race has panned out, can't you, sometimes?
Yeah.
When you look at time gaps in races, it's not, because you come into the finish on a road race and you can be 2-3 minutes down and still look great in second.
Yeah, definitely. But I also think we're kind of talking about how Lars van der Haar has been and what he's doing right now. And it's two completely different riders as far as I'm concerned. So for Lars van der Haar, I think he's finding himself a new lease of life here, and he's finding a new way of racing. And I think going into the next couple of races, you probably see Lars van der Haar with a lot more confidence again. So all of these things are being put into place now, where, as far as I'm concerned, he is looking great out there. And for Telenet Baloise Lions, it's going to be fantastic to have him back with these kind of legs when you got a Toonarts and Quinten Hermans who are also starting with fresh legs. And I was just going to say that I think almost if you're going to have a double weekend of cyclo-crossing, I think they need to almost have a Super Prestige weekend with 2 Super Prestige races where you have to ride both of them, and then have an ETIAS weekend and a DVV weekend, so that you're getting all the riders coming in here. Because otherwise, I think some of the other crosses will suffer, where we got the Super Prestige being so important with the overall, and the same thing with the DVV. Whereas the ETIAS cross isn't a one that you're riding GC over the whole season, and guys will opt for fresher legs for the one that has got a GC classification.
And some of these series as well, they have a contract for the whole series as well, don't they? They'll have a season contract for some of these, so they have that start money.
Yeah, they will do, and with that, obviously, they're going to want to perform in those races as well. So, for me, it would be better to group them together, have a weekend of Super Prestige, have a weekend of DVV, a weekend of ETIAS, and it almost allow the riders then to sort of do most of the different series as well.
Yeah, so just chicken dinners again, asking how much do riders cost to enter the race? They're all mainly, they have a start money at Elite Pro level to start the race.
Yeah, they do, especially the top guys here will have start money to turn up to do the race, have a contract for that. And as we were talking about in the women's race, Katie Compton's contract hadn't been sorted out for one reason or another that we're unaware of, but it meant that she wasn't on the start today. She didn't take the start, and yeah, it's how cyclocross is run. But yeah, it doesn't cost an awful lot if you go down the age categories. The juniors, I think it's 10-15 euros to enter, and you get some of that money back when you hand your numbers in.
And then here we come into the home straight. The man of the day, the man of the season so far, Ellie Isabit from Paushausen Bingo, up towards the line for another impeccable performance. He has not put a foot wrong, you would say, so far this season. High fives the crowd on the way in. Ellie Isabit from Paushausen Bingo comes across the line. It takes another victory. He took the win in Heaton in the opening round. He sat out Bohm last week in order to prepare for the Bern World Cup, which he also won. Here's your second place rider, Telenet Baloise Lions, Lars van der Haar. He said, looking like the Van der Haar of old. It's great to see him back to his best, and Pidcock is being chased hard here by Toonarts behind him. Van der Haar is into the home straight, has a little glance back over the shoulder. So a second place podium for him today. He's happy with that one.
Very happy with that one. You can see that little punch in the air there. Just really, really happy with that. But yeah, again, we see Toonarts chasing Pidcock and putting in another spectacular finishing lap again, closing down that gap quite significantly.
Tom Pidcock across the line in 4th. Then you've got Michael Van Torenhout, who just out sprints Toonarts for 5th place. 6th place then comes it will be Corny van Kessel and Quinten Hermans, whose legs are probably still screaming from Beringen yesterday. But Corny van Kessel looking for some work for his teammates throughout that one. So 7th place for Corny van Kessel. Solid ride from van Kessel. Hermans again, top 10 performance for him today. And then will be Jens Adams, will be the next rider to come in towards the finish. So he's going to take 9th today, is Jens Adams. Again, he's having a solid season, consistently in the top 10, 9th place for him. The Orist Neuvenhaus here. Is he, have we got anyone between him? No, it's Marcel Meissens going to take 10th for Germany in current circus, the German champion. For Marcel Meissen, truly always the pro, zips up his jersey. Again, he'll. I think Marcel Meissen will be fairly happy with that today. A top 10.
A top 10. I think definitely he will be happy with. Yeah, good ride from Meissen, definitely. And yours Neuvenhuis coming across the line in 11th.
Neuvenhuis comes in. Klepper coming across the line next. Yeah, Nicholas Klepper coming in there. Dan Suitor, good start. Dan Suitor just didn't quite have the legs to go with it when it all went.
No, it didn't. But then again, he might have been put on team duty to make those opening laps really, really hard for his team leader Ellie and Michael Van Torenhout. So you know, it could have been that was his job. Put 2-3 laps in that are lightning quick, and then see what you can finish up with.
Ellie Elisabeth, 6th win this year as Tim Malier comes in, and his slowest finish so far has been 2nd. Honestly, he really needs to do some work, doesn't he? Honestly. Tom Meusen coming in. A lot of you big fans, as we are, of the Iceman coming in towards the finish. He's going to take 15th today for Corendon Circus, crossing the line there. So Tom Meusen, 3:21 down for Tom. Corendon Circus, the return of the big man next weekend. There he is, Ellie Elisabeth. And I think a lot of us, we kind of, you're looking at this, aren't you, and you're thinking, okay, we just want to see how Elisabeth is against Van der Poel next weekend. I don't think looking at the recovery of Wout van Aert, we wish him well in his recovery. I'm not sure that if he gets back at the end of the cross season, you know, I think it's going to be next cross season before we see Wout van Aert back to his best. But I'm interested to see how Mathieu is after his rest after the road season, and where Elisabeth is in relation to him.
Yeah, and I think the opening round for Van der Poel in Rottervoorde should be interesting, because obviously I know he will have trained well, and I know he will come in very well prepared. But it's one thing coming in and doing your first races. It's another thing when you got the tempo, you got the rhythm of racing, and you got the confidence of winning as well. So it could be that we will see a very, very interesting race in Rottervoorde.
Let's take you through the pictures of the day, and this was the start, and a blisteringly quick race that we've had today. And again, as we said it, we had until Elisabeth went. Van der Haar, great start from Lars Van der Haar, but the racing at the very early stages as well, very, very tight.
It was tight. So many riders in contention, and like I said, I think Paul and Bingos actually dominated the opening part of the race with so many riders up there, and then obviously Elisabeth capitalizing on the work that his teammates had been doing, and the fierce pace that was being put on, mainly by Suitor in the beginning, and also Michael Van Torenhout for a lap or so.
That was Elisabeth's little attack up there. There was Toonarts just lost it slightly on that point. Elisabeth went again.
Yeah, it also looked like at that moment there when Tournaerts had to get off the bike, it looked like Michael van Toornhout had some sort of an issue, and I don't know if Toon got caught behind, but then going down on this corner, and this is kind of where the beginning of the end for Tournaerts in today's race, losing too much time to Ellie a bit. He clearly spotted that that Arts went down and went for that attack.
He probably heard it because he went down like a bag of spanners, as you would say, dropped from a height. Because again, just as you can see, Tone there just sitting up and stretching his back out as well. So, yeah, instinctive reaction when he went. Lars van der Haar, again, as we said, Lars van der Haar, could have, best ride we've seen. You can't say best ride we've seen for a while because he won a race in the week as well. But when we see the Superprestige and these sort of races, very, very different against the likes of Pidcock and Isabit.
Yeah, totally. And you could see how much that meant for Lars van der Haar as well when he came across the line. He was super happy with that ride and that finishing position. Yes, he still had a man up ahead of him, but it's the start of something, and it's a confidence builder for Lars van der Haar. And I think with that, I think, well, I definitely enjoy seeing him back at that position in the bike.
Yeah, it's going to be, we'll see you next weekend. So Ellie Isabit crossing the line, and there's Lars van der Haar. You'll see his little yes from second place on that one. Riders are all stopping their clocks as they cross the line. There's Laurent Swake just coming in towards the finish. Great race. Great action throughout both of those races today. Big thanks to you all as well for tuning in and watching. Thanks for all your great chat that we've had on both Facebook and YouTube as well. I think I've got 40 pages of chat that we've been trying to keep track of there. We just managed to put them all together. But again, spread the word. Thanks so much for supporting here on GCN Racing. Make sure you spread the word if you can. Like, share, give us a little thumbs up on YouTube. That always helps as well. But like we were saying just at the end of our commentary there, 6th win of the year. It's not been really lower than second. It's a dream start to the year.
Yeah, it is, and I mean, it's difficult to add anything to that. He is having a fantastic start to the season, and I think he's quietly, looking forward to next weekend in Ruddervoorde when he's got Mathieu van der Poel to really test himself against, and hopefully Van der Poel brings his A game out there as well, so we do get that epic battle that I think we all really want to see, and I certainly will enjoy watching that if it does come off. But Elisabeth has clearly made a massive step forward over the summer and coming into this year's cross season.
In terms of looking at things, the weight we didn't have it today. We've had a lot of mud so far this season as well, and we look back to last year where we had very, very little mud. And in terms of for the likes of Van der Poel coming in, this is cross. Anything can happen, can't it? Equipment failures, a little broken chain here or there, or a puncture at the wrong time.
Crashes.
Yeah, and it changes the dynamic of cross so much. I think we kind of got used to last winter just seeing him riding away was so quick. He just had that ability as well. It was just dream. Everything was dialed in. His equipment. We saw him as well. We were watching last year back. He had that maximum slide ability. The bike would just slide out, and he would be like, oh.
Yeah. Yeah, it never really seemed like he was under pressure at any point, and he's got that ability, the reaction to just do whatever he wants with the bike underneath him, and he just always seems to be in control of it, even when it does go sideways. But yeah, it's a different season. It's a new season. I think that the racing has moved on. It's got a lot quicker. We got a man who's clearly in very, very good form. Almost, if we're talking about the distances, the time gaps from the wins last year, Ellie Isabit is putting the same gaps into the likes of Tournaerts and Quinten Hermans and the rest as what Mathieu van der Poel was doing last year. So this could be a spectacular season if everything comes off in the right way.
Good point. Let's hear from Ellie Isabit.
Op zijn Van der Poels, of is dat overdreven?
Can we say that you're like Van der Poel?
Is vanaf de eerste ronde, dus dat is een beetje overdreven.
Said no, Van der Poel usually goes on the first lap, so it's a bit over the top to say, but
was iets minder en Toon zette toch direct heel veel druk.
said the first lap was
een beetje uit zijn kot
I
gelokt
missed the start a bit, but I had to work really hard. It was
serieus ontploft.
hard pressure.
Kijk je uit naar dat duel volgende week met Van der Poel?
Are you looking forward to the duel next
kijk
weekend?
Uit naar de Koppenberg en dan kijk ik uit
I'm
naar
looking, I'm looking forward to Koppenberg and then Rode
en dan zullen we het weer bekijken.
De manier waarop je deze wedstrijd controleert, behoorlijk indrukwekkend. Even testen, even
the way
voelen
you're
en dan
controlling that race is impressive.
Ik denk de tweede ronde reed ik op kop en Mario riep al dat het veel te vroeg was en dat voelde ik ook wel.
Second lap I was riding on the front and Mario said it's too early.
Het was misschien nog iets te vroeg
backed
voor mij
off
om
and
echt weg te rijden, maar ik had direct een hartje en
let my teammates do some more work and
vanaf toen
said it was a bit too early even when I went, but it was the right timing.
Door mijn tempo op aangepast.
Je reed
So
meer
just
dan toch een minuut weg.
adjusted my
tegenstand.
pace and
Dat is een cross.
made sure that I
Had
had
je dat vooraf
enough
verwacht?
energy to the end.
Ik had vooraf verwacht dat het wel heel erg uit elkaar ging liggen. Ik dacht wel al iets vroeger in de wedstrijd. We zaten eigenlijk de eerste twee ronden met heel veel man samen. Dat
So
had ik niet echt verwacht.
in the first
Maar
part of the
de
races
twee
a lot of
heel lastig en dat
a
wist
lot
ik
of
wel
us
dat echt maar één man
in the
was
team
en
were all
verschoot
together.
eigenlijk een beetje dat Toon zo snel zo rap reed.
So
Omdat,
it was a bit surprised how
ik wist eigenlijk wel
quickly
op voorhand dat hij
Toon
niet stil
was
was, omdat hij
riding
gewoon echt
in.
vol die klim opreed en ik zag dat Michael
so
het ook al
just
moeilijk had. Dus,
everyone
ja,
was
ik denk dat ik mijn wedstrijd
in
iets
trouble.
beter had
Michael
ingedeeld.
especially was
dat
suffering
is een
to
hele mooie
follow Toon up there, but it ended up going really great for us.
Thank you, Maggie, for the translation. We're on to the podium. We're getting ready for that one. Great. It's quite interesting to hear him again talking from the team manager, saying it's too early. And again, that demonstrates the communication that's going on between the rider and the management teams that are around the course.
Yeah, definitely. They're going past the pit twice every lap, and with that, you can always get some communication going across to the rider. And if it's too early, and the rider is always keen, and the adrenaline is pumping, and it's so easy to make those little mistakes. So having a team manager and having the experience of Mario de Klerk on the side there is obviously absolutely. So important to have someone who can just calm the rider down a bit. Yeah.
There's your third place on the podium, Laurent Sweek from Paushausen Bingo. Solid ride from him today. So everyone behind the podium just getting ready to make their way out. Second place for this man, popular man. Lars van der Haar from Telenet Lions takes second place today. You can see clearly happy with that performance. And then we will get ready for our winner. So going into the reason, here he comes, Ellie Isabit, Paushausen Bingo. Good day for them. Two riders on the podium. Happy days. What a season. It's, again, hotly anticipated. Next Sunday, remember, make sure you put it in your diary. There's your 1, 2, 3. Ellie Isabit, Lars van der Haar, and Laurent Sweek. Tom Pidcock, good performance by him. He is leading in the under 23 classification. There's a nice shot of your podium. I just always wanted to reach a level where I had a sublimated flag with my face on it. It's got to be the best thing in the world, doesn't it? When you get a fan club, they just want to print yourself big on a flag. It's great. It's a special thing. It's only in Belgium. So it is great. It's that's part of cyclo-cross, isn't it? That's why we love it.
It is, and the Kermis racing in Belgium as well is very similar in that way. So yeah, it's. I love the atmosphere when you go into these bike races, whether it's Kermis racing, cyclocross, whatever it is. It's always just a part of the atmosphere, and everyone is so clued up about all the riders and where they're at and where they've finished, and the discussions between the different fan clubs as well. Who is the better rider at the end of the day, and then it's I love it.
There you have it, Tom Pidcock onto the podium. So he's the leader in the under-23 classification, the elite British champion here for Trinity Racing. So if you've been with us, double weekend of racing for Tom Pidcock. I think that big elite victory's far away, getting a little bit chilly there. Tom on the podium, a little shiver there. So the under-23 leader. And Lars van der Haar up there. So looks like Lars van der Haar is now the leader in the classification. So he takes over at the top of the general classification here in the Superprestige series. There's your two leaders. Van der Haar, the elite leader. Pidcock, the under-23 leader. So great day out for Van der Haar. And that's what we're saying. Solid ride there from Van der Haar. And that puts him at the top. That's a big thing.
It is a big thing, and like I said again, the confidence boost for Lars van der Haar. So don't be surprised if you see him right up there in the mix again in the next couple of races.
No, not at all. As we said, great days racing. We have had very big thanks to Magnus for all his co-commentary this week, and he'll be back this winter. You're off to Koppenberg and Ruddervoorde with Zoe next week, so we wish Zoe luck. Zoe, our junior reporter here on GCN Racing, did a lot for us last winter. Jeremy Powers is over there as well. As I said, Nicky Bramier is with me in commentary. Friday is Koppenberg. Sunday is Ruddervoorde. The big man, Mathieu van der Poel, returns. Have a great week. Get out there and ride for Magnus and myself. Bye for now.